We are here. We are on section number 5. I don't know why I practice that. Probably because it wants me to take the practice test. It's like, bro, you've done this for 36 hours. Like, come on. What can I say? I'm a slow learner. Okay. So we have 5 sections to go through today to get through all, or 5 subsections. We have 5 subsections to get through today to get through all of section 5, which is network troubleshooting. In my opinion, the 1, 2, and 3 are like fundamental. 4 and 5 are what, like, they're like what you're gonna do in the real world. Now, I don't have a networking job yet, but I would imagine that network security and troubleshooting would be like 80% of your job. And the only way you can do network security and troubleshooting is if you understand the concepts, the implication, and the operations of it. That's kind of the hierarchy that I see. Anyway, my name is ParaDiddlePete, and I do tech stuff, video game stuff, and I just kind of like do things because, or whatever makes me, that I think is cool, whatever makes me happy, kind of thing. So yeah, that's what's going on with this. And if you're here and you're watching the stream, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, tell a friend, do all that good stuff. We're gonna dive right into it. All right, select 2. That got me. Yeah, that got me yesterday. I got a few wrong because it said select 3 instead of 2.
A sysadmin is reviewing an alert for the firewall that a piece of malware was downloaded to a computer on the network. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Select 2.
Okay. Implement preventative measures. Confirm the theory. Determine if anything has changed. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem. This one's actually pretty easy, I'm not going to lie. Because you're not going to confirm the theory because we want to mitigate this in the future. So that's not going to do anything. Determine if anything has changed. Again, that's not going to mitigate it in the future. So we're going to implement preventative measures, and then we're going to establish a plan of action to resolve the problem. And I am wrong. Wow. But confirm the theory would have been, what steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Well, definitely not determine if anything's changed. That wouldn't mitigate it if it's in the future. We're looking for preventative things. I got a whisker in my mouth. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, if you were trying to watch me play Donkey Kong Bonanza last night, I had huge issues with my capture card with the Switch 2. It was working, but I didn't have any audio, and I was like, this is dumb. And it took me like an hour and a half to figure out that my capture card needed a firmware update. I was literally testing like everything. I've never updated its firmware, which is why I didn't think about it, but CompTIA is A+. That should have been like one of the first things I did. But we'll do that probably tonight, most likely. It's hard to gauge things at night because I teach lessons and there's just a lot of things. Like, streaming in the morning is so much easier because like no one needs me to do crap.
When following standard troubleshooting guidelines, an IT support technician asks a user, did it ever work? And when did it last work? These questions help with which of the following troubleshooting approaches when identifying the problem.
Okay, so it sounds like it's documenting findings and actions and outcomes, when in reality, we're trying to determine if anything has changed. Because if it never worked to begin with, then then it's not changed. Yes. Yes. All right.
Which of the following troubleshooting steps includes open and closed approaches to obtaining information? What are you doing, boy? What do you have? Oh, you
have nothing. Okay. Which of the following troubleshooting steps includes open and closed approaches to obtain information? I'm assuming question the obvious. No, question the user. Test the theory to determine a cause. I'm going to go with question the user. Yeah, because open and closed questions.
A technician tries to duplicate a reported problem on a user's computer. Which of the following troubleshooting steps is the technician focusing on?
Technician tries to duplicate the reported problem on the user's computer. He's either developing a theory or problem identification. Let's see here. Let's think this through. So he's trying to duplicate a reported problem. No, you are not going to eat my 4K cable. No, sir. No. Where's your spray bottle? No. Dang it. I don't know what happened to it. They don't like the compressed air. They don't like the sound it makes. I don't shoot them with the compressed air. I just kind of shoot it in the air and then they run away. So if you try eating my 4K cable again, it's over. Okay. I'll be very upset if he eats through my 4K HDMI cable. All right. Anyway, what were we doing? We're doing this. Developing a theory or problem identification? Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know what happened to the spray bottle. Oh crap, it's right there under my feet. Okay, so I don't know which one it is. We're gonna come back to it.
A technician tries the suggested troubleshooting steps to remedy a computer issue. The steps do not fix the problem. The technician discovers additional suggestions at a support website that provide a different cause and potential fix for the problem. What troubleshooting path should the technician follow?
Okay, you're scaring me, boy. I just have wires everywhere because I'm like I was trying to stream last night with the Switch 2, and I was doing a whole bunch of like weird things, and then I have my server that's like half cooked. Anyway, so he tried the problem solving method. It didn't work. The technician discovered an additional suggestion support that was on a website. The troubleshooting path he chose, the troubleshooting path should the technician follow? This isn't DK. Does it say DK? Look, I tried to play DK yesterday, and my Switch 2 wouldn't give sound, so it was a big thing. But this doesn't say DK, right? I'll be very upset if it says DK. The notification was sent and said, "Oh, on Twitch." Sorry, it's because I was gonna play it last night, like around 9:30 when I got home. It was 8:30. I was gonna start playing it, or 9 or something like that. But the Switch 2 didn't have any audio through my capture card, and I troubleshot it for an hour and a half, and I figured out that it was the capture card needed a new firmware update. Apparently, it's never been updated. So that was a big deal. So now I am finishing up my last section from CompTIA, and we're probably going to play Donkey Kong tonight. I also had a huge issue with stream keys. Duplicate stream keys or something. I don't really understand how that happened, but I had to do that. So basically I had to just straight up delete the Donkey Kong upcoming stream off of YouTube, and I have to re-upload it and get it all going. So we'll probably do that tonight when I get home. Anyway.
A technician tries the suggested troubleshooting steps to remedy a computer issue. The steps do not fix the problem. The technician discovers additional suggestions at a support website that provide a different cause and potential fix for the problem. What troubleshooting path should the technician follow?
Establish the plan of action, resolve the problem, and identify a potential effect. I'm going to say document findings because it's something new. I was wrong. It's probably establish a plan. My 8-bit do controller also needs a firmware update in order to be compatible with the Switch 2.
A user contacts support to report that their computer is running slowly and they cannot access the company's internal website. What is the most effective troubleshooting strategy to identify the issues?
So we have two different problems. We have the computer's running slowly and he cannot connect to the internal the company's internal website. So we have two issues. We need to divide and conquer. What? I'm not doing okay. I'm not doing good, boys. It's not going well. Necessary solution. Approach multiple No, I should have read all the answer choices. Approach multiple problems individually. Divide and conquer is when you have one problem with multiple solutions. I don't know. Okay, well maybe it's a good thing I got it wrong.
A system that contains custom applications routinely crashes. IT decides to upgrade the operating system after speaking with application support personnel. In which of the following ways should IT troubleshoot the matter?
So a system contains custom applications routinely crashes. IT decides to upgrade the operating system after speaking with application support personnel. And which of the following ways should IT troubleshoot the matter? Verify full system functionality, and if applicable, God, dude, I don't know how to say that word. And it's not okay, whatever. Implement preventative measures. Establish a plan. Identify the problem to determine if anything's changed. I'm going to say, okay, determine if anything's changed is like trying to find the problem, not to see if the solution worked. Seeing if the solution worked is verifying a full system functionality. Okay, maybe. But I don't know what I'm doing anymore. What is a computer?
A help desk operator is troubleshooting a site that is no longer responsive. Which of the following is the last step the operator should perform?
Document findings. Confirm a theory.
A sysadmin is reviewing an alert for the firewall that a piece of malware was downloaded to a computer on the network. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Select 2.
How is confirming a theory going to mitigate it in the future?
Since the administrator suspects they know what the issue is, following the basic network troubleshooting steps, the next step is for the administrator to confirm the theory. After confirming the theory, the next step the administrator would take is to establish a plan of action to resolve the problem.
This is a dirty question, dude. This is a dirty question because it says, how can the sysadmin help to help mitigate this in the future? That makes me think like, what's the next steps in terms of making sure that this never happens again? Not what is the next steps in terms of like fixing the malware issue. This is a bad question. You're bad and should feel bad. Okay? That's so okay. Maybe chatbot GPT will tell me something better. Next question. And then we don't need this. We don't need this. Or this. Whoa, I hate when it does that. The only thing I don't like about CompTIA is when it's like what you need to know. I feel like it could give more in-depth reasons for why things are and why things aren't.
The correct answers are: implement preventative measures, establish a plan of action to resolve the problem. 1. Restated question. What steps
See, it thought the same exact thing as me.
should a system administrator take to prevent future malware downloads after getting an alert from the firewall that malware was downloaded to a networked computer? 2. Simplified answer. You need to 1. Plan how to stop this kind of attack from happening again.
Yes.
And 2. Take proactive security steps to reduce risk. 3. Analogy. Think of malware like a burglar breaking into your house. After catching the break-in, establish a plan of action is like deciding to install an alarm system and new locks. Implement preventative measures is like actually installing those locks and cameras to stop future break-ins. 4. In-depth explanation. The question is focused on future mitigation, not just investigation. So we use the later stages of the incident response process. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem. Plan what actions need to be taken to prevent further infection. Updating antivirus, firewall rules, or educating users. Implement preventative measures. Actually do the things you planned, like installing endpoint protection, enabling web filtering, or blocking malicious domains. The 2 incorrect choices. Confirm the theory. That's part of identifying and verifying the cause. Important, but not forward-looking mitigation. Determine if anything has changed. More useful for initial triage, not long-term prevention. 5. Real-world scenario. A malware alert was triggered. The sysadmin confirms the infection. Establish a plan to address the weak spot, e.g. no email filtering. Implement prevention by setting up a rule to block executable attachments and deploying endpoint protection tools. Let me know when you're ready for the next question.
Yeah, sorry, chatbot GPT. You thought exactly the same way as I did. You're absolutely right to point that out. And this is a great opportunity to distinguish the different between the 2 stages of CompTIA troubleshooting model. Okay.
You're absolutely right to point that out. And this is a great opportunity to distinguish between 2 stages of the CompTIA troubleshooting model. Let's break this down properly. The CompTIA 7-step troubleshooting model includes: identify the problem, establish a theory of probable cause, test the theory to determine the cause, establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and identify potential effects, implement the solution or escalate as necessary, verify full system functionality, and, if applicable, implement preventative measures, document findings.
See, we're talking about number 6. Verify the system full functionality and apply any type of preventative measures.
Actions and outcomes. Now, back to the original question. A sysadmin is reviewing an alert from the firewall that malware was downloaded to a computer. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Select 2. If the goal is forward-looking mitigation, like the question says in the future, the correct answers would be: implement preventative measures, step 6. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem, step 4. These align with long-term defense and are typically what you do after verifying the issue. If the question instead asked, what should the sysadmin do first after seeing this alert? Then the correct answers would be: confirm the theory, step 3.
See?
Establish a plan of action,
Not
step
crazy.
4. So you're not wrong, and neither is the study guide. The confusion comes from how the question is phrased. Final verdict. If the question focuses on future prevention, pick plan of action plus preventative measures. If the question focuses on diagnosis and early action, pick confirm the theory plus plan of action. Let me know if you'd like a visual cheat sheet for all 7 troubleshooting steps.
So basically that was
or
just
if
a
you're
big
ready
old
for the next
fancy
question.
long-term explanation for that the question is worded poorly.
A user contacts support to report that their computer is running slowly and they cannot access the company's internal website. What is the most effective troubleshooting strategy to identify the issues?
Okay. Approach multiple problems individually. What is divide and conquer then?
Discovering symptoms of more than one problem is common, When problems do not seem to be related, it is best to treat each issue as a separate case. In a divide and conquer approach, rather than starting at the top or bottom of the OSI reference model, a start is initiated with the layer most likely to be causing the problem.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
A system that contains custom applications routinely crashes. IT decides to upgrade the operating system after speaking with application support personnel. In which of the following ways should IT troubleshoot the matter?
Establish a plan of action and resolve the problem and identify potential effects. Okay, because they've decided to upgrade the operating system, they have not yet done so. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, or like any type of card game where there's a time, like the way the problem-solving thing is, the wording really matters, so that way you know where in the process it is, and it's not necessarily that like you have to stick to the process like 100%. It's because there's so many people out there who do not know how to problem solve, that don't understand. And I mean, I'm not saying that like I'm amazing at it. I think I'm okay at it, but at problem solving in general. But understanding like how to where everything falls.
Establishing a plan of action, such as a maintenance window or scheduled downtime to fix an issue, is best practice. Researching impacts of any fixes should also be considered. It is important to take enough time to determine what has caused a problem. Identifying the problem includes a variety of steps that help to understand what is and is not working. Verifying full system functionality is useful to identify the results and effects of a solution. Ensuring that the problem is not repeatable and putting possible safeguards and restrictions in place help to prevent further issues.
So the reason it's not this is because they haven't done it yet. They've only decided that they're going to do it, which means that they need to establish a plan of action to resolve the problem. So they needed a plan of action to actually upgrade it, to determine like what the scheduling, the window, like all of that. Okay. And then identify potential effects, whether they be negative or positive, that are going to happen after they update the operating system. Because if they update the operating system, they could fix whatever the application problem is, but at the same time they could like mess up a bunch of other stuff too.
A technician tries the suggested troubleshooting steps to remedy a computer issue. The steps do not fix the problem. The technician discovers additional suggestions at a support website that provide a different cause and potential fix for the problem. What troubleshooting path should the technician follow?
Yeah, I think I was just going too fast. If the theory is not confirmed, reestablish a new theory or escalate. And when it means escalate, that means it goes in the hierarchy. There's two different forms of it. It either escalates in terms of the problem itself escalates, like it's determined like a different level of like priority kind of thing, or it escalates up to the next person up. It doesn't necessarily mean that the problem is a big problem, just means that the person below you couldn't figure it out, and it goes up to the hierarchy chain of techs.
Often problems may have several different possible causes. When a theory is not confirmed, the next in line can be considered. Escalation means referring the problem to a more knowledgeable entity, such as a senior technician, manager, or third party. Establishing a plan of action, such as a maintenance window or scheduled downtime to fix an issue, is best practice. Researching impacts of any fixes should also be considered. A technician tries to duplicate a reported problem on a user's computer. Which of the following troubleshooting steps is the technician focusing on?
So I want to know, why is this one problem identification and not developing a theory? Alright, boy, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to go right here. There you go.
It is important to take enough time to determine what has caused a problem. Identifying the problem includes a variety of steps that help to understand what is and is not working. This includes interviewing users and identifying symptoms for a diagnosis. Developing a theory involves gathering all known information from an incident and making an educated decision on potential causes.
Okay. So problem again, this goes into like the hierarchy of like the process. So identifying the problem is 1, and then establishing a theory is 2. So duplicating the problem is because what happens is, like, normal people, when we troubleshoot, we do these 2 things at the same exact time. We'll identify the problem, and by identifying the problem, we are coming up with a theory at the same exact time. But in terms of steps, it had to be separated. So identifying the problem first, and then developing a theory. Because you can't develop a theory if you don't know what the problem is. Alright. Let's keep going.
A user calls to report that email is not working and that there is a printer jam. Which troubleshooting approach is best when identifying the problem?
Apply multiple problem. Oh, approach multiple problems individually.
A technician determines that a faulty network connection caused a system error. Which logical approach allows for methodical steps to diagnose the cause?
A technician determines that a faulty network connection caused a system error. Which logical approach allows for... Is it referring to the OSI reference model guide? Okay. I click it like I think I can take it back.
A technician tries the suggested troubleshooting steps to remedy a computer issue. The steps do not fix the problem. The technician discovers additional suggestions at a support website that provide a different cause and potential fix for the problem. What troubleshooting path should the technician follow?
If the theory is not confirmed, reestablish a new theory or escalate. That one, now that makes so much sense. I've been working on this computer. I've been working on this networking issue. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. I go to the internet. I go to AI. I go to wherever, and I tried to troubleshoot it. So if the theory is not confirmed, I need to make a new theory. If I cannot make a new theory, then I need to hand it over to someone who's better than me.
A user is unable to print to a network printer. Which of the following is the first step that a technician should take to troubleshoot the issue?
Establish a plan, establish a theory, implement. No, it needs to be identify the problem. Man, and you know what? Identifying the problem, now that I think about it, especially when it comes to a printer, like, that's so important. Because there's been tons of times where I'm helping teachers, and they're like, it's not printing, it's not printing, it's not printing. It's the printer's wrong. And I go and look, and, like, they're not connected to the internet. I'm like, the problem's not the printer. The problem's between the keyboard and the chair.
When troubleshooting a hardware malfunction, which of the following strategies would assist in accurately identifying the root cause affecting a device's performance?
Select 2. Don't get tricked by that. When troubleshooting a hardware malfunction, which of the following strategies would assist in accurately identifying the root cause affecting a device's performance? Determine the next steps to resolve. Question user. Duplicate the problem. Yes. So, last year, I was having issues in my classroom. I actually teach graphic design. I'm a high school teacher. That's kind of how I got into tech. Well, I used to be a musician, but I used to be a band director. That's a whole other story. Anyway, the Photoshop kept crashing, and it was crashing. It was saying that there was a GPU driver issue. I am not a technician at my school, and I have very limited admin access, like I should. I'm just a teacher. Okay, so I did what I needed to do. I took a picture of the error message, and I probably even went above and beyond. I took a picture of the error message. We have Dell workstations. I looked up inside the Dell workstation. I'm pretty sure it's in all of them. If you pull up in the panel, there is a QR code. If you scan it, it'll take you directly to the website. And the way it works with Dell workstations is that you don't have to manually go in and install any firmware updates or any hardware drivers or anything like that. You just go to the Dell Workstation website and you select the workstation you have, and then there's all of the drivers, all the firmware, all of it's right there. It's all in-house, and you go and download. It's actually really, really nice. But I don't have admin privileges, so I can't do that. So I put in a work ticket. I explained exactly what was going on. I sent them a screenshot of the error message, and I sent them the website and the screenshot of the QR code in the website that has all the firmware. The guy comes in, and he's like, yeah, man, I can't replicate the problem. Okay, cool. I don't need you to replicate the problem because this is happening a lot. And it's only, and I told him, I was like, look, right now it's only happening on 3 computers. But it's only a matter of time before it happens to all of the computers, because all the computers are exactly the same, right? And he goes, yeah, man, we'll just have to kind of look at it, because like that doesn't fix the problem. Like, I felt like I gave him everything, and I understand that you need to try to duplicate the problem, but you can. I also took a screenshot of the driver for the GPU that was in the workstation. So like you could literally see the number of the driver that was here. It was like, I don't know, like 315, and the new driver that was there was like 425, or that we needed was like 425. So there was a big discrepancy. So like the computer needed to be updated, the GPU needed to be updated regardless, and he refused to do it because he could not replicate the problem. And I remember thinking, like, I know what this process is, and I get it, and I totally understand, but at the same time, like, when is updating these GPUs a bad idea? Like, we need to keep everything as up to date as possible, especially when we're dealing with programs that are always updating on their own. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So he comes back in, and he updates, or someone else comes back in. I think it escalates because it goes to the person above him, and she comes in and she updates 5 of them. Miraculously, those 5 computers no longer have any driver issues, and Photoshop no longer fails and no longer like stops or crashes or anything. The old guy comes, or the original guy comes back in. He just goes around, he starts looking at stuff, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm looking, and it says that the driver is, they're all the same between the computers that she's done and the computers I've done. And I go over there and I look, and he is trying to update the CPU driver because our CPUs also have internal graphics. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, these things have graphics cards. He was like, oh, okay. Okay. Listen, because I'm going to talk to you. I'm try it again. Like, the GPU driver is not good. It needs to be updated. Oh, I wish I would have known that. Well, you did, because I took motherfucking screenshots of it. Like what are we talking about? What are we doing? How do you have a job? Like, anyway, that was a long tangent. Let's keep going.
A system that contains custom applications routinely crashes. IT decides to upgrade the operating system after speaking with application support personnel. In which of the following ways should IT troubleshoot the matter?
Manu, you are scaring the crap out of me. You're done. I just have too many wires everywhere. Okay, so a system that contains custom application is routinely crashing. IT decides to upgrade the operating system after speaking with the support panel. What they need to do is, you think they need to verify, but this has come down to semantics of like wording. So they've decided to do this, but they have not yet do it. They have not yet done it. So they need to establish a plan of action in order to do it, in order to upgrade the operating system. Next, let's do it.
A newly deployed stack with servers, network switches, a KVM key, video, mouse, storage unit, and uninterruptible power supplies has just been fully cabled. After powering on the stack, There seems to be a network connectivity issue between the switch and servers. What is the best approach when trying to resolve this type of network issue?
Bottom to top. Yeah, because the servers in the hierarchy are higher than the switches. I don't know what it is about a switch. I just think they're cool. Maybe because they're simple.
When considering a troubleshooting methodology, which of the following topics concern identifying a problem? Select 3.
Oh, select 3. Don't get tricked. Don't get tricked. All right. When considering a troubleshooting methodology, which of the following topics concern identifying a problem? It's not questioning the obvious. Questioning the obvious sounds like that should be a thing, but it's not a part of the method. So just knowing that that's not a part of the method, I know that it's the other ones. So we're going to identify symptoms. We're going to duplicate the problem if possible. George, did you hear that? You duplicate the problem if possible. That doesn't mean that you get stuck on the second model. Whatever. I'm not bitter.
A system that contains custom applications routinely crashes. IT decides to upgrade the operating system after speaking with application support personnel. In which of the following ways should IT troubleshoot the matter?
Because they've decided they haven't done it yet.
When changing a system as part of implementing a troubleshooting solution, which of the following practices should be followed?
Okay, when changing a system as part of implementing a troubleshooting solution, which of the following practices should be followed? Select 2. Don't get tricked. See here, making changes without backing up the data and configuration. Well, clearly, who backs up their data? I don't know about you, but when I play video game, I like a little bit of stress. You know what I'm saying? I like to live on the edge. When I play video games, I connect my character's life to folder 32. And if I die in the game, like when I'm playing Stellar Blade, if I die, folder 32, deleted, done. It's all about stakes. It makes things more fun. You know what I'm saying? Okay. After test after each change to ensure the problem is resolved. Maybe. I don't know if that's strong. Apply all suggested solutions simultaneously to save time. Well, of course. If there's one thing that's also really good, it's doing all things all the time, all at once. I think there was a movie about that. Record all changes made during the troubleshooting process, obviously. If you're doing something in troubleshooting, you need to make sure that you make documentation and while you're doing it and you're recording it. So that way, if it happens again or you can't do it, you can pass that knowledge on to the next person. Man, can you imagine if I would have got that wrong? What a clown.
A sysadmin is reviewing an alert for the firewall that a piece of malware was downloaded to a computer on the network. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future?
So,
select 2.
It's an alert. So we need to determine if anything's changed and establish a plan of action. We don't need to... We don't want to implement preventative measures. We haven't established a plan of action. We can only establish a plan of action if we have a theory. So we need to determine if anything's changed, which is going to help us confirm a theory. And then we are going to establish a plan of action. A piece of malware downloaded a computer to the network. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Oh, this is the problem. This is that same question that's like super crappy. Mitigate this in the future. That makes you think that it's these two steps, but it's not, because that's exactly what we just asked over here. Okay, and ChatbotGPT thought the same thing. I hate my life. Establish a theory and a plan of action. What? This is a crap question because it says mitigate. And Chatbot GPT thinks so too. And Chatbot GPT is like 2 upgrades away from being like legally a human.
A new physical server has been deployed and is connected to a client switch. While logged into the server via a KVM key video mouse device, the network admin notices that the network port is not connected. In addition, the switch configurations have disabled all unused ports. After establishing a theory of probable cause and testing the theory, which course of action should the network admin take next?
Okay, so they have already established a theory, and they've tested the theory. Which course of action? So this is also a really crappy question too, because it's telling you step 1, step 2, step 3, which makes you think that it's gonna be step 1, step 2, step 3, but in all reality, we're actually like right here. So we need to document findings is gonna be the last one. So it's not gonna be this one. It's not gonna be this one. Verify functionality. Implement a solution. So it really comes down to testing a theory, implementing a solution or an outcome. That's the only 2 that are different. It's implementing the solution. Verifying system functionality. Oh. What? Implement solution or escalate if necessary. Verify system functionality. So you can't verify the system functionality and then implement the solution. That doesn't make sense. You're not going to document your findings and then establish a plan and then implement the... No. Yes, you need to be keeping notes the entire time, but documenting your findings is at the very end after you're done, or whether you've succeeded or failed. So you're establishing a plan, implement a solution, and then verify connectivity. Establishing a plan. We already have a plan. It says that the establishing a theory for probable cause and testing the theory. Oh, so testing the theory is not the same as establishing a plan. Testing the theory just proves that that's the thing, and then the plan is the remedy. Okay, so it's this one. You have to establish a plan, implement solution, and then verify its connectivity. Let's go.
A technician tries to duplicate a reported problem on a user's computer. Which of the following troubleshooting steps is the technician focusing on?
Okay, it tries to duplicate. So we are in the process of problem identification. It's either that or developing a theory. Let's think about it. When it comes to troubleshooting, are you trying to replicate the problem? And a lot of times I don't try, like when I'm troubleshooting, especially when I'm helping somebody, I don't replicate the problem. I make them replicate the problem because I have unknowing competency. Like, have you ever had a horrible interaction with someone before? Maybe an argument, or like you were just stunned with what they said or what they did, and then you try to explain it to somebody else, and in your process of trying to explain it to somebody else, you actually make it make sense, and you make them sound way better than they actually were because you unknowingly changed what they said into something that makes sense because your brain was having a hard time understanding it. That's unknowing competence. If you're really proficient in something, when you go to try to do something wrong, it's really, really hard. Same thing like when I'm drumming and I'm teaching a kid, sometimes I can't replicate their problem that they're doing because I can just naturally do it better. And that's not like a flex or anything. That's just like, if you've been doing something for a long period of time, that's just how it goes. So, if we're trying to replicate the problem, we are trying to identify the problem. Yes.
A user contacts support to report that their computer is running slowly and they cannot access the company's internal website. What is the most effective troubleshooting strategy to identify the issues?
Implement solutions or escalate, approach multiple problems individually. Yes, because these are multiple problems we have running slowly in the company's internal website. We don't know if they're connected or not. They might be connected, but most likely they are not. So it's better to approach multiple problems individually. It got me, dude. It got me again.
A sysadmin is reviewing an alert for the firewall that a piece of malware was downloaded to a computer on the network. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Select 2.
This is a shit question. Confirm the theory, establish a plan of action to resolve the problem.
A sysadmin is reviewing an alert for the firewall that a piece of malware was downloaded to a computer on the network. What steps should the sysadmin do to help mitigate this in the future? Select 2.
Confirm theory. All right. Honestly, I didn't do too bad. Moving on. Moving on up. I finally got a piece of the pie. All right, we're on section 2.5 or 5.2. Sorry, I'm just a little dyslexic. Everyone a little dyslexic.
An administrator purposely created a cable with an incorrect pinout so that the cable could connect 2 hosts together for direct communication. What kind of cable did the administrator create?
Okay. We need to make sure we understand all these. Unshielded cable is a CAT cable, like an Ethernet cable. CAT 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, whatever. Okay, it actually only goes up to 8, but that's what that is. And it means since it's unshielded, then it's not or it's susceptible to crosstalk. So usually like a Cat 5 cable is like this. A cross pair cable. A cross pair cable is when you're connecting. Man, I get straight through cable. What is on my foot? Straight through cable. Straight through is 2 different devices. Cross is the same. Although I thought that was called an over. Like an over something cable, but I think they're the same. Rollover cable is a serial. It's a serial cable. It's a console. So dirty optical cable, that's an issue. That's an optical cable that's literally is dirt in it. So he made it so that way the cable with incorrect pinouts. So the cable could connect 2 hosts together. I think it's this. Yes. Might have said that backwards. So, oh. No, yeah. Cross pair is 2 of the same. Straight through is 2 different ones. But it's a moot point now because most modern day things, it doesn't matter.
A sysadmin is running into an issue that traffic is getting dropped by the network equipment. After researching the issue, the sysadmin finds that the individual packets are too small. What should the sysadmin remove to resolve the issue?
Okay, so this is a trick because what happens is when you have packets or frames that are giant, they hit each other and they collide and they get destroyed, and what's left is a runt. So what he needs to remove is giants. Well, so runts is what he's finding. So but runts are only created through giants. What do you think, chat? What do you think it is? I think it's giants or runts. Sysadmin is running into an issue. The traffic is getting dropped by the network equipment. After researching the issue, the sysadmin finds that the individual packets are too small. What should sysadmin remove to resolve this issue? He needs to remove runts. Yes. I really overthought that, but I got it correct.
What describes the calculation of a checksum based on the contents of a frame used to detect errors?
It's not a CPU. This is legitimate CPU. That's not an acronym. That means something else. That's for your computer. This is for mail, which leaves these two. I don't remember what those two things are.
A network engineer is troubleshooting an Ethernet connection between two buildings. The engineer notices that the network devices were upgraded, but the wiring was not. The engineer needs a connection that can handle 10 GBPs at 500 MHz for a distance of 300 feet using RJ45 connectors. What type of Ethernet cable should the engineer replace the Cat5 with to meet the connection standard?
Okay, you guys already know how I feel about these Cat cables. Like, I think they're really stupid. The standard used to be Cat 3. And then it just rose, and then it was Cat 5 for like, I don't know, a little less than a decade. In the last like 3 or 4 years, the Cat 6 and now Cat 6A is slowly becoming the standard. Like if you go to your service provider and you get a router from them, you're not going to get a Cat 5 cable. You're most likely going to get a Cat 6 cable. And the only difference between them is their resistance to crosstalk. And it's like, why wasn't the best already the standard? Like, anyway, the answer is Cat 6A. That's what I have in my house. I have Cat 7 and 8. And the only difference between Cat 7 and 8 is its length.
What are the potential causes of intermittent loss of connectivity in a cabling system?
Okay, what are some potential causes for intermittent loss of connectivity in cabling? So we have crosstalk. We need to select 2. It's not attenuation. Attenuation is the amount of signal degradation that we have. That's not what they're asking. They want to know causes. Use of fiber optic cables instead of copper. No, fiber literally has next to no loss. Like it can have loss because like you get a kink in it or something like that because it's just glass. It's light. But for the most part, there's very little loss, and it's completely immune to crosstalk and electromagnetic interference. So extensive untwisting of the cable. So that means that it just slowly gets untwisted. Maybe you terminate it too many times, something like that. That makes no sense. Put a clown nose on my face. Put a clown nose on my face. I swear, if the answer is attenuation, what is potential causes for interrupted loss for connectivity in a cabling system? So, okay, I don't know. That one really makes me mad.
Attenuation is the loss of signal strength. Specifically, it is the ratio.
So that means it had to be the fiber one? Why would you have a loss of signal because you used fiber instead of copper? Unless they're implying that you tried to use a fiber cable in the place of an Ethernet cable. In which case, how incompetent do you have to be?
Between the signal strength from where the signal starts to where it ends. How is the loss of signal strength expressed?
Through decibels, I think. How is loss of signal strength expressed? I'm pretty sure it's decimals. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, like, the higher the negative, the worse your signal is. I'm like 90% sure. Maybe I should have looked at that. Okay, here we go.
Which of the following is true about the impact of drawing power down a PO cable?
It decreases the cable's resistance and enhances thermal performance without additional measures. No, if anything, it decreases thermal performance. It increases the maximum distance of the cable can cover without signal loss. I don't know. That one makes sense, though. It generates more heat that can affect the data rates. Yes, whenever energy moves, it becomes hot. That's why your CPU gets really hot. It's not just because it's running. Because it's running, power's running in it, so therefore it gets hot. I mean, your body does the same exact thing. The more you move, the hotter your body gets.
A desktop engineer is responding to a support request, stating that a brand new machine with 16 gigabytes of memory and an M2 SSD is still running too slow. What component did an administrator poorly choose when ordering the device?
The M.2 SSD. What are you doing with that? You should have got an NVMe. What are you talking about? But the real answer is memory. The reason the real answer is memory is because assigned to a support ticket, brand new machine, is because it's running too slow. And applications run slow through the SSD, but your computer in general will run slow through RAM because it's the scratch pad for the CPU. Also, this test is just a little old, and not that old. We're talking like 2 years, but it's old enough where the M.2 SSD versus M.2 NVMe, that debate wasn't really a thing. This is old enough to say that your M.2 doesn't need a heatsink. Honk honk, I'm a clown. How is it attenuation? Attenuation is the show of signal loss, not a cause. Talk to me.
The following are potential causes of intermittent loss of connectivity in a cabling system. Excessive untwisting at the cable ends. Excessive untwisting at the cable ends can lead to intermittent loss of connectivity due to the degradation of signal integrity and increased susceptibility to interference, which can disrupt the connection sporadically. Attenuation. Attenuation, or the gradual loss of signal strength over distance, can cause intermittent loss of connectivity, especially if the signal becomes too weak to maintain a stable connection under certain conditions.
Watch. ChatGPT is going to say the same thing as me. Watch. Watch. Great. Here's an answer breakdown below. Question. What is the potential cause of intermittent loss in connectivity and connection in the calibrating system? Oh my god, dude. I need to get a clown emoji. Oh my god. Okay. And it's saying that attenuation or the gradual loss of strength over a distance can... It's not just over distance, it's just in general. Definition, signal degradation over distance. But the last question we have, man, okay, whatever. Just accept it. Move on with your life. Accept it in your heart. You were wrong. While crosstalk interferes between wires, it typically causes consistent. Oh. Intermittent was the key word. Okay. Whatever. I'm still upset. I accept that I'm wrong, but I'm still upset. I can still be upset about it.
A desktop engineer is responding to a support request stating that a brand new machine with 16 gigabytes of memory and an M2 SSD is still running too slow. What component did an administrator poorly choose when ordering the device?
Okay, this is stupid. How in the world was I supposed to know that it was the processor? It didn't reference anything about the processor whatsoever. It also didn't reference any type of program that was running to be slow. Like if it would have, what if it was running, I mean, I guess it's saying that the computer in general is running slow, but I mean, I have people who have like 1,000 Chrome tabs open and they say their computer's running slow. It's a brand new machine. Why is it running slow? Because you have 1,000 Chrome tabs open and Chrome is like a glutton for RAM. There was a lot of like...
The Central Processing Unit CPU refers to the component in a device that executes commands given to it by a program or operating system. CPUs plug into a socket on a motherboard. Improving the processing speed would help programs calculate faster.
Memory refers to the component in the computer's temporary storage activity used to data. Improving memory would allow larger and intensive programs to run better, which would mean that my computer's running slowly. I guess because it gives it... This question makes me have to imply a lot. I do not like to implying a lot when it comes to questions. Okay. Also, like, who just uses their computer and says that it's running slow? No one just uses a computer. You use applications on a computer, and then if you have more RAM, then that's gonna run better. Like, when was the last time that you got into, like, your photos on your computer? Okay, whatever. We're moving on. I'm accepting it. All right, this is the one that I did not know.
Cyclic redundancy checks, CRC, are a calculation of a checksum based on the contents of a frame used to detect errors.
Okay, cycle redundancy check. Calculations of the checkism. Interesting. And then what is this? Oh, the memorandum.
A memorandum of understanding, MO, is a preliminary or exploratory agreement to express an intent to work together.
So that has nothing to do with like literally anything. That's like me and George get together and we decide to do business and we write a memorandum and say, hey, like, this is my intent to do business with you. It's not really legally binding, but it's a sign of good faith. And then the contract follows. This has to do with mail. I'm pretty sure. I always think it has to do with mail.
The SNMP monitor of a notable event, port failure, for instance. The sysadmin can set the threshold for triggering traps for each value.
Simple network management protocol. So it has nothing to do with mail. Is an internet standard protocol used to monitor and manage your network devices connected over an IP.
What is the purpose of using matched pairs in transceiver deployment?
To ensure compatibility between TX and RX wavelengths. So TX is transferring, RX is receiving. Yes. Okay, so what's the purpose of using matched pairs in a receiver? To ensure compatibility between TX and RX? Possibly. To match the color of the transceivers? That does not matter. To double the network speed, to ensure I'm gonna go with this one. Yes, and that's how you can remember TX and RX, is that TX is the transfer, RX is receive. All right, next question.
While working on connectivity issues, a network consultant attempts to determine the amount of loss suffered by the components on the fiber transmission path. What is this called?
So he's trying to figure out the loss that happens on the fiber path. And fibers do get, it's not called attenuation because it's not a radio signal, it's a light signal. But they do lose strength after a while. You can easily see this if you get like a laser light and you shoot it, and just see how far that light goes before it starts to dim. Okay, I like to think of fiber like redstone. You need a repeater ever so often. Now you need it not every, what is it, like 6 blocks or 5 blocks or 8 blocks or whatever it is. I haven't played Minecraft in a very, very long time, but because that's all redstone is, just light really that's transferring energy. Redstone's a very interesting concept, but anyway, it's not going to be a DNS issue because while the network is connected on a connectivity issue, a network consultant attempts to determine the amount of loss suffered. So he's trying to determine the amount of loss suffered. So it's not going to be DNS issue. It's not going to be broadcast storm. That's like too much packets and stuff coming through. Interference status, maybe. Low optical link budget. I think it's this one. Yes. Yeah, and it's also abbreviated as an LOLB. The LOB.
What describes the calculation of a checksum based on the contents of a frame used to detect errors?
This one.
A desktop engineer is responding to a support request stating that a brand new machine with 16 gigabytes of memory and an M2 SSD is still running too slow. What component did an administrator poorly choose when ordering the device?
This is that dirty question because it's making you imply more than what I would like to imply when it comes to a question for a test. It's telling us that we have 16 gigabytes of memory. That's pretty good. That's kind of the standard now, especially if you want to play like modern games. Not like super high end, but you're going to be able to play, you're going to at least be going to be able to play the game, and you might even be able to play it in mid settings. M.2 SSD is just better than a SATA SSD in terms of space. And SSD is just generally the standard, although it's being replaced by other things. But the computer's still running too slow. So it's not anything with the bandwidth because they didn't talk about internet. We gave us strong choices between these. So it's implying that it's the processor. This is the other one that
What are the potential causes of intermittent loss of connectivity in a cabling system?
Select 2. Don't get tricked. So it's going to be attenuation, and then it's going to be excessive untwisting of the cable's end. So attenuation, because our keyword is intermittent. So attenuation is the calculation of the degradation of signal, but it's also the degradation of signal through distance, which is a little confusing. Which means that it'll have signal and it won't. It'll kind of go in and out. Unlike an HDMI cable, if you put an HDMI cable over 50 feet and it's not backed by power, it doesn't have its own power source, there is no degradation of signal. It's not like it gets fuzzy or anything. Just dead immediately. Does not work.
What should be done if the power requirements of all connected devices exceed the switch's power budget?
Okay, what should be done if the power requirements of all connected devices exceed the switch's power budget? Decrease the number of connected devices? Well, that seems like a pretty good idea. However, you probably need those devices in there. That's probably not going to be a that's a band-aid. Okay, use the show power inline command to decrease the power consumption. Maybe that I don't know how that's gonna help. Increase the cable length to reduce the power consumption. That seems like that might work. The longer the power cable is, anytime the longer any cable is, you need more energy to move energy. Okay, think about that next time you see like a big tanker that has gas. How much gas is that tanker using in order to transport that gas? Increase the cable length to reduce. Oh no, we don't want to increase it. If you increase the cable length, it's not going to reduce power consumption. provision another switch or use power injunction devices. Yeah.
An administrator connects both a router and a gateway that have dissimilar media types. What kind of issue does this solution remedy?
Administrator connects both a router and a gateway that have dissimilar media types. Crap, I do not remember what media types mean. What does media types mean? I think that means the connections. I don't know. Okay, what kind of issues does this solution remedy? Short issues, duplex issues, transceiver issues. I'm going to say transceiver issues. Because why would it be a duplex issue? Duplexing. Well, I don't know, because I don't know what media types are. We're going to, yeah, I was correct, but I want to know what media types are. So we're going to ask ChatGPT when it comes back around. And the reason I don't ask ChatGPT right now or Google it right now is that I want that to store in my mind. This is the best way to learn. When you do something, whatever, let it store in your mind, move on to something else, let it circle back around, and then hit it again. So now I'm going to hit it twice with time happening between, and it's going to stick in my memory way better.
A technician installs and connects some spare switches in a network closet by using crossover cables. Auto MDI MDIX is not supported. For some reason, the switches are not communicating with each other. What does the technician note about the configuration while troubleshooting the issue? Select 2.
Okay. So we have some crossover cables. Crossover is going from device to device, so switch to switch. That's exactly what's happened. We have pair of switches. The auto MDI and MDIX, which means that when you plug it in, the machine itself determines what end is what, and it fixes it. You don't have to have the correct cable. So that is not a thing. These are old switches. For some reason, the switches are not connecting with each other. So what does the technician note about the configuration while troubleshooting the issue? Transmit occurs a 3-pin and 6-pin on the switch. Transmit confirms on the 1 and 2. Crossover cables using a T68A on both ends. Crossover cables. The crossover cable uses this. So this one's tough. And it's because you need to know how crossover cables work. Let's see if we can get a diagram of crossover cables. Here we go. There we go. Let's look at that. So this is how crossover cables work. We have, there it is. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Can we make this bigger? What are the Ethernet crossover cables? Okay, so we have T58, T568A and T568B. And the difference is how it moves things. Okay? The reason they're different is because of the socket, the female end that it goes into. Okay? That doesn't move, and it has to deal with the information that it's giving and receiving. So this is giving. This is I don't know. I don't remember if it's giving or receiving, but the point is that in order for it to be able to talk to each other, depending on whether it's device to device that are the same or device to a different device, these have to be flipped. And that's what's going on. And you can see the difference between the two. And you can see how it crosses over. Think about it in terms of... Thinking about it in terms of your front panel on your PC. You have like a whole bunch of pins, and they all need to be connected together in order for it to work. You can get some things a little mixed up, and it will still work. Like certain things that don't matter, like the LED light that's on your, that some of them have. Like that doesn't necessarily matter if it's plugged in or not for your on button to like light up. but like certain ones, like the negative and positive, they need to be going to the right ones, right? And nowadays, your front panel is not a whole bunch of pins. It's just one socket, and it just goes in, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. That is the closest analogy that I could make with what the difference is between these. And honestly, this is why that sucks. Because if you look at it, you can't tell the difference unless you get really, really close to it. So the question is that we have two things that are trying to talk to, two of the same devices that are trying to talk. I think that it's pin 3 and 6. And I think that that is T568A on both ends. If it's on both ends, they're not going to talk to each other, I believe. But I'm not sure. Okay? So we're going to come back and we're really going to look at this one. Okay, let's look at this one. Oh, we're right at it. So we'll let this generate, because this is a concept that I struggle with. I thought maybe it would jog my memory as I talked through it, because a lot of times that happens. You know, the rubber ducky thing. Woo. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's see what it has to say while it's generating.
As an intermediate system, a switch port uses MDIX and receives on pins 1 and 2 and transmits on pins 3 and 6. The cable between the host interface port and switch interface port should be straight through either T568A on both ends or T568B on both ends and not a crossover cable. An end system uses a media-dependent interface MDI to transmit on pins 1 and 2 and receive on pins 3 and 6. Historically, in the days of hubs and very early 10/100th switches, dedicated uplink ports and crossover cables made these connections. A crossover cable has T568A termination at one end and T568B termination at the other end.
Okay. I'm not going to lie, that was really effing confusing. So, as an intermittent system, a switch port uses MDIX and receives pins 1 and 2. Pin 1 and 1. No, pin 1 and 2. The color sequence for 8 pins is the following: green, white 1, green 2. Okay, I'm not following. I'm not understanding. So the cable between the host interface port and the switch interface port, aren't these not the same thing? It said the technician was installing connections on some spare switches. So they're two the same thing. Okay, but one's probably the host. Okay. Should be a straight through cable. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say.
Great. Here's the breakdown for question. A technician installs and connects some spare switches in a network closet by using crossover cables. Auto MDI MDIX is not supported. For some reason, the switches are not communicating with each other. What does the technician note about the configuration while troubleshooting the issue? Select 2. Correct answers. Transmit occurs on pins 1 and 2 of the switch. The crossover cable uses T568A on one end and T568B on the other end.
Okay. What I'm having a hard time understanding is where pin 1 and 2 are and their significance. We might read a little bit of this article over here.
Explanation. 1. Transmit occurs on pins 1 and 2 of the switch. On Ethernet interfaces like those on switches, data transmission typically happens on pins 1 and 2 and receiving on pins 3 and 6. If two switches are directly connected, an auto MDI MDIC.
Okay, so it typically happens. So it's transmitted on 1 and 2. Which I think I kind of knew. I just didn't realize it. And then it receives on 3 and 6 because they're different on different ends. So then if this is A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 and 6. Okay, so each of these are the pins. These are just these are the pairs. So it's giving data is typically happens on 1 and 2 and received on 3 and 6. So it's given on 1 and 2 and then received on 1 or 3 and 6. And those are green. Okay, I understand it. Or at least I think I understand it. So we have pins 1 and 2, which is white, green, and solid green. And it's giving the information. And then it's receiving the information on pins 3 and 6. Because it's giving. And it has to do with its port that it's plugged into. So the port that it's plugging into, for some reason, the port that's plugging into, it receives on 3 and 6. It doesn't receive on 1 and 2. I don't know why that's the case. And maybe we can read a little bit more to try to figure that out. But that is why. That is what's going on. So pins 1 goes to 3. 6. Now, I don't know why 4 and 5 go to 7 and 8. That's a whole nother deal. We're not going to talk about that. Okay. So this is a crossover cable. This is a straight through cable. Okay, let's keep going. It's starting to come together.
Explanation. 1. Transmit occurs on pins 1 and 2 of the switch. On Ethernet interfaces like those on switches, data transmission typically happens on pins 1 and 2, and receiving on pins 3 and 6. If two switches are directly connected and auto MDI MDIX is not supported, then you must use a crossover cable to swap transmit-receive pairs. 2. The crossover cable uses
So crossovers, crossover cables is same device to same device. 2 switches, 2 computers, 2 Xboxes. And it has to be a crossover cable. It's because you're crossing over to another, or you're crossing over to the same device. That's what you're doing. You're crossing over to the same device. So crossing over to Xbox Live. I don't know. That's the way I'm going to think about it. Because I remember having issues when I was trying to have LAN parties when I was a kid, and when the Xbox 360 first dropped, and it's because it had to use a crossover cable. In the later life of the Xbox 360, it supported auto MDIX, which means that you could plug in any type of Ethernet cable and it would just figure it out on its own. It was smart. A straight through cable goes from a device to a different device, a switch to a router. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. Here we go.
About the configuration while troubleshooting the issue. Select 2. Correct answer. 2. The crossover cable uses T568A on one end and T568B on the other. A true Ethernet crossover cable has one end wired as T568A and the other end as T568B. This swaps the send and receive pairs, essential when auto MDI MDIX isn't available and like devices, for example, switch to switch or router to router, are connected. Incorrect answers. Transmit occurs on pins 3 and 6 of the switch. Incorrect because those are the receive pins, not transmit.
Okay, so 3 and 6 are receive pins, which means that... Okay, because all an Ethernet cable is a highway within highways. Or yeah, think of it like if you're driving down Houston, like down 45. There's like 5 highways in the middle in downtown Houston when you're on 45, and it's because it's not all 45. It's labeled as 45, but it's not what it is. All 5 of those roads are different highways. Like 69 is there, 45 is there, 610. No, not 610. There's like 3 other highways that are there. I can't remember what they are, but they're all there, and they're all one lane. So all the highways can join together in one giant road, and each lane is a different highway. That's exactly what's going on here. Each one of these pins is a highway, and with its own point of start and its own end point. and this is the wire, this is the card, this is the point, this is the transmission. So if point A is giving, then it needs to go to whatever point, whatever pin over here is receiving. I'm pretty sure that is correct.
Transmit. The crossover cable uses T568A on both ends. That would make it a straight-through cable, not a crossover. And straight-through won't work between switches without auto MDI MDICs.
So, to me, the issue with the straight-through cable and the crossover cable, the problem stems from its port that it's coming into. I think they made the port standard. Instead of changing the port on all the different devices, they changed it on the wire. And I think they kept the port the same on all the stuff. So then you just had to change the wire to make sure that they were connected instead of changing the ports. That's a theory because I'm still learning and understanding this stuff. Okay? So, can we... ChatGPT is broken. I want you to give this to me in my... give this to me in my 5-part format. Because Lord knows I need an analogy because that's how I learn. There's no E in format? Since when? I swear to God, dude, they be changing things. They be changing the dictionary. Alright, let's look at this. Why this, what we got?
Ethernet crossover cables are printed with the word crossover or exover to distinguish them from straight-through cables. Or we can look at the RJ45 header to see if the wire sequence is the same to differentiate.
I have never seen crossover or exover on any cable ever. Okay. Oh, and just so you know, another way to stop not attenuation, but stop crosstalk is that you twist them inside the wire. If you twist all these together, it's going to make crosstalk way harder. And if this was a shielded wire, there would be, I think is it aluminum? I think it's aluminum. There's like a form of metal, like a sheet of metal that is right here. Okay, after you need, after that you'll need to unravel the wires. Okay, the twisted pair, straighten them out. One should be according to the T568A, according to, okay. And then you terminate them. Terminate them. All right. Cable tester, and then these are the pins. All right, let's see what we have here.
Absolutely. Here's the full answer in your 5-part format. Analogy? Think of network cables like walkie-talkies. If both people are talking on the same channel and no one is listening on the other, no communication happens. A crossover cable swaps who's talking and who's listening, so the two devices can hear each other. But if the wiring is wrong, it's like both walkie-talkies are transmitting and nobody is receiving.
So I was correct. The ports are what determine if they're listening or if they're talking. These just transfer the information. So instead of having, so like if port 3 is talking, port 1 is listening. Which is why they had to keep the ports all the same and they changed the wire. Because you can't, well no, they could have done that. They could have had, well no, because then you would have had 2 different ports. You would have had, like just how you have, sometimes you have 2 different HDMI or DisplayPort. You have an in and you have an out. And it changes the port and the wire's the same. It's a different way of approach. I'm not a big fan, but I think I understand it. So let's look at the question one last time. So we have 2 switches. The auto MDI is not supported. And for some reason, the switches are not communicating with each other. What does the technician note about the configuration while troubleshooting the issue? So he's using a crossover cable. So he says, okay, so transmitting occurs on pins 3 and 6. So talking transmits on 3 and 6. The crossover cable uses T56 8A on one end and T56 8B on the other end, meaning one end is designed to connect talking together and the other end is designed to connect hearing together, so that way its information can travel to it. Is this doing it? Is this doing it for you? Okay, here we go. I understand that a lot better now.
An administrator connects both a router and a gateway that have dissimilar media types. What kind of issue does this solution remedy?
Okay. Transceiver issue.
A transceiver converts from one media type to another, uses an appropriate Ethernet standard and wavelength, and must match in pairs.
I want to know what a media type is. I want to know what its exact definition is, because I feel like still cannot type with my pinky, my left pinky. A follow-up question: what is a media type? Because that's a key vocabulary word in understanding what this is. So the administrator connects both the router and a gateway that are dissimilar media types. Imagine two musicians trying to play a duet. One has a violin and the other a digital keyboard. The violin uses strings and bows, while the keyboard uses electronic signals. They need a sound converter to interface. Okay, this is a bad analogy. Like a transceiver to blend their instruments through the same speaker. Okay, you didn't say that the violin was whatever. Without that, the output won't work together.
Media type refers to the physical and electrical characteristics used for network transmission. For example, copper, Ethernet versus fiber optic, twisted pair versus coaxial cable, or electrical versus optical signaling. When a router, say, with a fiber optic port needs to communicate with a gateway with an RJ45 Ethernet copper port, they can't directly connect. A transceiver is used to convert one media type to another, allowing proper signal conversion
like
and communication. This isn't about duplex mismatches or shorts. It's a hardware incompatibility at the physical media layer. So, the issue resolved here is a transceiver issue, where you bridge dissimilar media types using a compatible device like an SFP module, media converter, or built-in transceiver.
So media type is exactly what I was thinking it was. It is the physical media, the physical wire or connection. So we have a router and a gateway that have dissimilar media types, meaning like it said, one might be copper, one might be fiber. An admin connects both this that have dissimilar, so he connects them. So what did he fix? He fixed a transceiver issue. Let's see a real world example and then we'll move on.
A company's internet gateway device has a fiber optic interface, but the internal router uses copper Ethernet. They won't link up without conversion. The administrator installs a fiber to Ethernet media converter, allowing data to flow between the two. This solves the transceiver issue, ensuring both devices can talk despite different physical formats.
Yes. There's a whole nother issue to talk about when it comes to like fiber going into Ethernet. Like I think it's called an ONT or OTN, something like that. We're not going to really look into that right now. I want to get through this, but that is definitely something that because I'm pretty sure that's how it converts. I can't quite remember. But anyway, transceiver issue is what the answer was and how it got fixed.
An administrator manually configures a server's network interface card NIC settings to run at 100 Mbps and connect the server to the switch. However, communications between the server and other hosts on the network are extremely slow. When the administrator checks the light on the server's switch port, it is blinking amber. What kind of issue does this indicate?
I'm pretty sure it's a duplexing issue, if I remember correctly. Because if it was a short issue, well, it could be. I don't know. It's definitely not a shielding cable issue. All your cables should be shielded. I don't care what anyone says. Like, that's stupid. It's stupid to have any cables that are not shielded. Like, oh, well, I'm just running it to my Xbox. I'm just running it to here. Right, but you have electricity that's running everywhere. And now we have AI that's going to run even more power and more interference. You know, like, I'm just saying technology is only getting better. It's only getting more. Having an unshielded cable is not stupid. Okay? But I don't think that this is a shielding cable issue. I don't think that this is a transceiver issue. If it's a transceiver issue, that'd be like it's not even plugged in. It's got to be some type of duplexing issue or short issue, because the admin is checking and the light server port is blinking amber. I cannot remember what the colors of a switch of a port mean. We're gonna Google it real quick. What do the colors of a port mean in networking? Different types of connection status and speed. Well, no, they're universal enforcement standard. Oh, I thought there was one. Ugh, it's too broad. I'll say on a switch. Yeah, it's a warning. Great. What kind of warning? That did not help me. This is why AI is winning. Just okay. What do you got? Green typically indicates this. Amber often is low speed connections. May indicate a weak signal with connection in the cable. Oh, so with the spanning tree protocol. Okay. Blinking amber typically indicates activity lower speeds. Incident network traffic. Okay. We're gonna go with duplexing. But because we couldn't get a straight answer and we couldn't get it fast enough, we're going to come back to it. We're going to circle back around.
A desktop engineer is responding to a support request stating that a brand new machine with 16 gigabytes of memory and an M2 SSD is still running too slow. Okay. What component did an administrator poorly choose when ordering the device?
It's a processor, because 16 gigabyte is kind of the standard now and used for a lot of things. M.2 SSD is kind of the standard now. NVMEs are expensive, but like that's definitely better. Always having more RAM is always better. However, to run normal business stuff, that's going to be more than okay. So if it's running slow, it's not hard drive, it's not going to be bandwidth, because it didn't say anything about internet. It's got to be the processor.
What are the potential causes of intermittent loss of connectivity in a cabling system?
Attenuation. Man, I've gotten this wrong like twice. Crosstalk. Using a fiber optic cable instead of a copper cable. No. I swear if I get this wrong again, I'm going for it. Why? How is crosstalk not it? Because it's intermittent loss. Give me the clown nose. Let's go. This is the one that we spent a really long time on.
An engineer troubleshoots a recent network configuration. Two switches that connect via a crossover cable cannot communicate. Which statements would help the engineer describe the current configuration?
So the two switches are connected via crossover cable. This is kind of a dirty question. It should be that they are connected through what he thinks is a crossover cable, and they're not communicating. So which statement would help the engineer describe his current configuration? His current configuration is that transmit occurs on pins 3 and 6. That's where it transmits. It listens on 1 and 2, which means that a crossover cable needs to have T568A on one end and T568B on the other end. And to be fair, he could have the cables swapped. It could be like that. I'm pretty sure. Because if one end's talking, the other end's... Kind of like how if you have an HDMI cable that is over 50 foot long, it has power, and it's one directional. You can't flip it. All right. Excessive I know why. It's because it's intermittent. Next. Okay, this is the one that we wanted to kind of see. Let's see if we can figure it out just by doing this without asking chatbot.
Setting both a NIC and switch port to auto-negotiate will solve a duplex mismatch, which will slow the link down by causing high packet loss and late collisions. A short happens when two conductors join, usually because the insulating wire is damaged or poorly wired connectors. A transceiver converts from one media type to another, uses an appropriate Ethernet standard and wavelength, and must match in pairs. Setting both a NIC and switch port to auto-negotiate will solve a duplex mismatch, which will slow the link down by causing high packet loss and late collisions.
Okay, so that's really what it is. It's that the amber light must show collision traffic or traffic issues. That makes sense.
An administrator connects both a router and a gateway that have dissimilar media types. What kind of issue does this solution remedy?
We learned this last time, earlier, that dissimilar media types. Media types mean the cable and or the port, the physical aspect. It's a layer 1, okay? Which means that if he connected this router and this gateway, then that means that, and they had dissimilar media types. One might have had fiber, the other one might have had Ethernet, and he fixed a transceiver issue. It's our arch nemesis, buddy. Okay, attenuation and excessive untwisting at the cable end. It's gonna give it to me again. No. Yes. How many times did I get that bitch wrong? I had that question 4 times and I got it wrong twice. Wow. Okay. So 5.2 is done. We are moving on to 5.3. We got 3 sections left. That was only supposed to take 7 minutes, and it took not 7 minutes. All right, here we go. I honestly like these scenarios way better than like just memorizing the stuff. It's like, I don't know, applying it.
You are configuring a new network segment that includes 3 switches, switch A, switch B, and switch C. Switch A is connected to switch B is connected to switch C, and switch C is connected back to switch A, forming a triangle. To prevent loops, you decide to implement the spanning tree protocol STP. After enabling STP, you notice that one of the links between the switches is not forwarding traffic. Which of the following links is most likely to be in a blocking state due to STP?
Okay. Let's look at this real quick. Wow, it's not doing it. Okay. Cool. Remove. Awesome. Let's look at this real quick. So, we have switch A. I'm a little pirate software here. I know that no one likes him anymore. So we have switch A. We have switch B. And we have switch C. Okay. They're connected, and they're connected. It's calling it a circle, but in reality, it's not a circle. It's really just a square. So the question is, to prevent loops, you decide to implement a spanning tree, which means we have a hierarchy. After enabling the spanning tree, you notice that one of the links between the switches is not forwarding traffic. Which of the following links is most likely to be in the blocking state of the spanning tree? The link between switch A and B, the link between B and C, the link between C and A, the link between Lost my train of thought. You know what? I need to... Wait. Oh my God, what is happening? There we go. There we go. Okay. So, any of the links could be in a blocking state depending on the bridge ID. It did not specify which one of these is the bridge. Which one is the hierarchy. So right now, we just have all three of these things are competing with one another. So we do not know. I went way over the top with that. I will not do that again. That was way too much work for it not to work. Okay.
A sysadmin is monitoring the logs of the network equipment in the corporate office and notices there are a lot of packet collisions. After digging around the individual network boxes, the sysadmin found that there was a misconfigured switch. What setting most likely contributed to the packet collisions?
Speed and duplex. Duplex is like how they talks, like the walkie-talkie thing, like I talk, you can't talk kind of thing, or cell phones where you can talk at the same time and you can hear each other at the same time.
A computer system sporadically connects to network services. Which of the following is most likely causing this issue?
So it's sporadically. Okay, that's the word, sporadically. So that means that it's not a rogue DHCP server. It could... Oh, you know what? I bet it's a duplicate... I bet it's a duplicate IP address. Because if it was an expired IP address, it wouldn't work at all. But if it's a duplicate IP address, it's competing for the MAC address in the ARP table. Yes. Look at me go. I am a network master. Okay. Let's go.
A network administrator is testing a remote server's network configuration and decides to ping the Internet Protocol IP address of a familiar Office Windows workstation. No replies are received, but the admin confirms DHCP settings are enabled on the workstation and can successfully browse the Internet. What is the most likely reason why the client workstation did not respond to a ping request?
It's a subnet issue. The IP address from another subnet is being used. Yes, the same IP address from another client is being... No, it's a subnet thing. Because subnets have security where they can stop pings from outside sources. It doesn't matter if the subnet is within the same ecosystem. Like if you are working at, I don't know, boring.com, boring company. I know that's a real thing, but if you're working at boring company and the I don't know, HR is trying to ping somebody from networking, from advertisement or something, those subnets, even though they're part of the same company, are isolated, and a lot of times it says you cannot ping. It's just a security thing, because if you can ping somebody, you're basically saying like, hey, I'm here. It's the thing of it is the equivalent of like leaving $100 bill on the seat of your car when you leave your car. Your car may be locked, sure, but you're advertising to everybody that this is here. We don't need to read all those numbers.
In a newly set up branch office, a network administrator configures the network with the subnet 172.16.0.016. All devices are supposed to communicate within this subnet. However, the administrator notices that host X, with the following configuration, cannot access the shared resources located on a server within the same subnet.
Okay. I'm definitely stronger with subnets than I was in the beginning of the week, but I'm still kind of weak at them. So we have IP address is 172, blah, blah, blah. The most important part of the IP address is this one and this one. And this is the third most important. No one cares about that number. Okay. So 34, our subnet mask is 255, 255, 255. Our default gateway is this. our subnet, the configuration of the network of the subnet is /16. That's the, was that DPI or DIP? What is the primary reason for the host X inability to access these shared resources? I don't think that there is enough IP addresses for this subnet. The IP address is incorrectly assigned. The subnet mask is too restrictive. The default gateway is misconfigured. Possible. Okay. The server IP address is in a different subnet. That's might be better. What I struggle with the most with subnets is creating this and how it relates to this and how all of that relates to the pool of IP addresses that you make. I'm starting to understand it more. Maybe if there's time at the end of the stream, there's a really good YouTube video by, his name's Sunny. He's this Asian guy. He's really, really good. Okay, so it is this. So it is too restrictive. So that means that this subnet mask that is made doesn't have enough IP addresses in its pool.
Windows workstations at a small company are not able to log on to a Windows server. Which of the following is the likely cause?
Okay, so not able to log on to the server. So a untrusted SSL secure socket layer certificate could be. Incorrect ACL access control list could also be. Incorrect system time. No, this has to do with applications that are time sensitive, meaning that they have to have a clock. Block UDP ports. Probably not. I can't imagine that being a thing. So it's either an untrusted SSL or incorrect ACL. I'm going to say it's an incorrect ACL because untrusted makes me think that it's something that's coming in. Incorrect means that it's probably set up. It's just set up wrong because they're workstations in a small company and they're not able to access the Windows server. Also, access control. This is control. Man, you know what? I don't remember exactly what a socket is, what this socket layer is. So we're gonna circle back around. Okay.
What happens when a topology change notification TCN is received in a network using STP?
Okay, what happens when a topology change notification is received in a network? Oh, spinning tree topology or spinning tree protocol. So when a change is received, all ports are set to block state. Ports must change their status from forwarding to block. Network topology remains unchanged. The root bridge is the root bridge is re-elected. So the root bridge is like the hierarchy. He's the main guy. He's the king. And whenever there's a change, a new one is re-elected. False. Give me the clown nose. Dang it. I need some emojis, man.
A user installs a financial...
But I hate it when I think I've rationalized something using like strong logic and I'm wrong. Nothing makes me feel worse in life. Okay.
Software package that requires cloud access. For some reason, the application fails to connect to the cloud server. What is the most likely cause of this issue?
Oh, damn it. I spilt my tea. Okay, I got it. Okay, a user installs a financial software package that requires cloud access. For some reason, the application fails to connect to the cloud server. What is the most likely cause of this issue? So it doesn't say that he can't connect to the internet. He can connect to the internet. It's that he can't connect to the cloud. Okay. So unresponsive service, incorrect host firewall settings, Incorrect time, duplicate IP address. Duplicate IP address would mean that he can't connect to the WAN. He can connect to the WAN. If he wasn't able to connect to the WAN, he wouldn't be able to connect to the server. So like this is like saying that I can connect to Google and I can Google funny cat videos, but I can't access my Google Drive for some reason. Okay, that's not a WAN issue. Okay, incorrect time. Nothing says that this was time sensitive. Unresponsive service could be. That's the closest one. But it's most likely it's an incorrect host-based firewall setting. There's something that's going on in the host that is not allowing this from getting through to the firewall. Yes, let's go.
What happens when a topology change notification TCN is received in a network using STP?
So ports may change their status from forwarding to blocking or vice versa. I think that happens because they re-elect a bridge, right? Let's find out.
When a TCN is received, it indicates that a device has been added or removed from the network. STP may then adjust the network topology by changing the status of ports from forwarding to blocked or vice versa to maintain a loop-free network. The reception of a topology change notification implies that the network topology may need to be adjusted to maintain a loop-free environment. Thus, the topology can change in response to such notifications. A topology change notification does not trigger a re-election of the root bridge. The root bridge election is a separate process that occurs based on bridge IDs, not on topology changes. Receiving a topology change notification does not result in all ports being set to the blocking state. Instead, specific adjustments are made to the network's topology, affecting only certain ports as necessary to prevent loops.
Okay, that makes total sense. So, it makes sense why I'm wrong too, because the spanning tree, if one changes, it could cause a bunch of loops, just like how we saw when I drew that on the thing in MS Paint, where you have one switch, and they're all connected like in a triangle, like a circle fashion. If you change one, there's a chance that there could be issues, and we don't want to have issues. Incorrect time. How?
Windows workstations at a small company are not able to log on to a Windows server. Which of the following is the likely cause?
What part of that indicates that it has incorrect system time?
A server or host needs to be configured with the correct time. Authentication and other security mechanisms will often fail if the time is not synchronized on both communicating devices.
What are these others?
The most common reason for a certificate not to be trusted is that the certificate issuer is not trusted. Another possible reason is that a certificate's information does not match a website or system. Incorrectly configured ports include blocking ports that are supposed to be open, or unintentionally leaving ports open. An access control list ACL is used to determine authorization to resources. Incorrect ACL settings could restrict a user or system from functioning properly, or they could allow unintended access.
Okay, they put that on the bottom, but honestly, that's a pretty fair bet. That's a pretty fair guess, because it says that it determines authorization to resources, and it's saying that Windows workstations in a small company are not able to log into the Windows server. I'm assuming that the Windows server is a resource, or there's resources in there. However, I think semantics, resources is usually insinuating an application. It's usually insinuating an application. I did not know that incorrect system time could stop you from accessing certain servers. Very interesting. That means that it can make it very easy to stop someone from having access to something by just changing its time. I don't think that's the correct protocol or the correct thing to do. There's better ways to do it, and that would also mess with a lot of other things. But it'd be probably, I would imagine, be a very fast thing to make happen.
What might be a symptom of a malicious attack on a DHCP server?
Address pool exhaustion. Making it make all of these IP addresses and pulling them all out all at once. Increased network speed has nothing to do with DHCP. Frequent IP address changes, that not really, because it is what determines that based off of its leases. Decreased number of a DHCP requests. That also is, these are one and the same. So it's got to be address pool exhaustion because it's an attack. It's a malicious attack.
A network engineer is tasked with resolving why certain printers are inaccessible by users next to those printers. The engineer realizes that the printer's network port on the switch is not configured to the proper network. The engineer sets the network configuration tag to 30 for those ports, resolving the issue. What was most likely the cause of the issue?
A network engineer is tasked with resolving why certain printers are inaccessible to users next to those printers. Then this has to be a subnet issue. No, subnets only deal with IP addresses. It's a VLAN issue because VLANs are grouped devices. There's so many different layers. It's not an untrusted SSL certificate. That's the secure socket. We just learned about that. It's not a DNS issue. It could be. It could be. DNS might not be resolving the IP from the computer trying to talk to the printer, but I don't think that's what it is. IP exclusions, that could also be an issue, but I don't think so. I think it's incorrect VLANs. I want to know more about why these are not the answer, so I'm gonna do this. Okay, I was correct. Because when you're setting things up, you want to group things together in terms of IPs, in terms of like how the IP address is assigned. In terms of grouping devices based off of where they are, then you're going to group those IPs and those devices together. And that's how we make VLANs. Then you group those VLANs together into trunks.
You manage a local area network with several switches. A new employee has started today, so you connect her workstation to a switch port.
Okay.
After connecting the workstation, you find that it can't get an IP address from the DHCP server.
It's the worst.
You check the link and status lights and see that the connection is working properly.
The worst.
A ping to the workstation's loopback address succeeds.
Worst.
No other computers seem to have the problem.
Worst.
Which of the following is the most likely cause of the problem?
So the problem has to be it's probably another VLAN assignment or incorrect default gateway. It's probably not a switching loop problem. Half duplex setting on the switch in the workstation. I mean, maybe, but that's probably not it. It is probably a incorrect default gateway setting or incorrect VLAN assignment. But here's the thing. You find that it did not get an IP address from the DHCP server. So that's the key. It's an incorrect default gateway because the default gateway gets you to the DHCP server so that way you can get your IP address. And if you have the incorrect default gateway, that means everything else is set up and you're trying to go here, but you get to the door and you don't have a key. And I look like a clown again. So does that mean that it was an incorrect VLAN assignment? I need to do more packet tracers.
A system is unable to reach any other systems outside of the local subnet. This symptom is characteristic of which problem?
Okay. System is unable to reach any other system outside of the local subnet. It has nothing to do with exhausted DHCP scope. That means that the IP addresses that is in the scope, the pool that the DHCP has is exhausted. That has nothing to do with it being able to reach out to other systems outside of its local subnet. Okay. Okay, so let's reverse engineer it. So this means that it can only talk to people within the subnet. If it can only talk to people within the subnet and it cannot talk to people outside of it, that means that it's an incorrect gateway. It wouldn't be an incorrect net mask because all the masking is fine. Unless I don't understand net mask. Let's find out. Ooh. Hey. What can I say? I'm the greatest technician that's ever lived.
What happens when a topology change notification TCN is received in a network using STP?
Ports may change their stats from forwarded to block, or vice versa, to stop looping from occurring as a preemptive measure. Yeah.
Users are reporting that they are unable to access the company shared drives within the corporate wireless. However, if they are hardwired, they can access the shared drives. What is the most likely reason that they are having issues accessing the shared drives?
Okay. So, I'm at my school. I have a laptop. I cannot access the shared drives through the Wi-Fi. But if I connect and I become hardlined in, I can. These are real issues. I've seen these in real life. Okay? They've happened to me. Users are reporting that they are unable to access the company's shared drives. Got it. Within the corporate wireless. However, when they're hardwired in, always be hardwired in when possible, they can access the shared drives. So it's not a site survey. Site survey is when you go to the location itself and you literally assess the situation. You look at what is going on. Compare it to being an actual land surveyor where they go to the plot of land and they survey it to see how big it is, what is the like if it's level, all this different type of stuff before they build. Attenuation would be the degradation of a signal. Usually of a wired signal. I don't think it's the degradation of a wireless signal. I guess it could be. So that leaves baseline or DNS issue. I'm assuming it's a DNS issue. I kind of know what baseline is, but I don't really know. But a DNS issue would mean that it is not resolving the IP address correctly and translating it, allowing the Wi-Fi to get access. Let's find out. All right. And I did unsure, so that way we could figure out what a baseline is again.
A network technician observes the network nearing maximum capacity, and the CPU utilization of the switches jumps up 85%.
Woo.
What is happening to the network?
They're running wallpaper engines. Duh. No, I'm joking. Or they're running, Cyberpunk 2077. Network technician observes that the network is nearing capacity. CPU utilization of the switch jumps up to 85%. Oh, it's a broadcast storm. Has nothing to do with certifications. Multicast flooding means that it's pushing it out. Broadcast storm means that there's a lot of crap going on. Yes. An incorrect default gateway setting. Now, what was my rationalization? Why did I think this? Why did I think that it was incorrect VLAN?
You manage a local area network with several switches. A new employee has started today, so you connect her workstation to a switch port. After connecting the workstation, you find that it can't get an IP address from the DHCP server. You check the link and status lights and see that the connection is working properly.
Okay, this makes sense to me. I wonder... I'll go back and watch the stream. I wonder what my thought process was. Oh, no. I was looking at it backwards. This is what I thought it was. This is the correct answer. And I was stuck between these two. Let's see what it has to say.
Most likely cause is that the switch port is a member of a VLAN that's different from the one for the DHCP server and other devices. It's possible that unused ports on the switch were assigned to a VLAN that's different from the one used by other devices.
It's possible that unused ports on the switch were assigned a VLAN That's different. Okay. And this is what makes VLANs hard, because you can't physically see them. The only way you know where a VLAN is connected or what it's assigned to is you have to go into the terminal to figure it out, unless you have it written down somewhere. I don't know. I'm a visual person, so like I'd rather just look at the cable. Okay, we're doing. Let's read this one again.
A network engineer is tasked with resolving why certain printers are inaccessible by users next to those printers. The engineer realizes that the printer's network port on the switch is not configured to the proper network. The engineer sets the network configuration tag to 30 for those ports, resolving the issue. What was most likely the cause of the issue?
A configuration tag to 30 means VLAN. That means VLAN. So that's the dead giveaway. I just remembered that. But let's see why it's not DNS.
Domain name server DNS translates domain names to their Internet Protocol IP address. Printers are not typically accessed by name, but rather IP address. An Internet Protocol IP exclusion is used to omit an IP address from a DHCP pool of addresses to be given to clients.
Yeah, but I think that if you gave the printer a DNS-like name, it would be easier to constantly find, troubleshoot, and fix. Because let's face it, it's 2025, and I can make AI-generated videos of Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and George Washington playing Minecraft together. But I still can't print from my computer wirelessly consistently. Like, I want you to think about that. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say it. You want to know what's going to defeat AI? It's going to be wireless printing, because it's going to constantly ask itself, I already fixed this issue. Why is this fixed again? AI will have a war against printers before it has a war against humans. Take that to the bank. Save this post.
Users are reporting that they are unable to access the company's shared drives within the corporate wireless. However, if they are hardwired, they can access the shared drives. What is the most likely reason that they are having issues accessing the shared drives?
It's a DNS issue because they're given a name. The hard drives, or not hard drives, but server drives and stuff like that, shared drives, are usually given a name, usually given a domain name, and so that way it can resolve. Now, I don't know what the benefits or the cons of giving something a name and not giving something a name. Like why are printers usually not given a name? It's just resolved straight to the IP. And why are shared drives done that? Maybe because there's way more shared drives, and shared drives are within subnets. But I mean, so are printers. So I don't know. That's a question we should Google or
a performance
ask ChatGPT
baseline
later.
establishes the resource utilization metrics at a point in time, such as when the system was first installed. This provides a comparison to measure system responsiveness later.
Okay, so a baseline establishes a resource utilization metric. So it's used for metrics. It's not used for connectivity, which is what DNS is. And we know what site survey is. Site survey is to perform the first by examining the blueprints, floor plan, or the actual premise, the actual place, to understand the layout and identify the features. This is the one we just did.
A network engineer is tasked with resolving why certain printers are inaccessible by users next to those printers.
Oh, no.
The engineer realizes that the printer's network port on the switch is not configured to the proper network. The engineer sets the network configuration tag to 30 for those ports, resolving the issue.
Configuration tag to 30 is the key.
What was most likely the cause of the issue?
This is the key. That's how we know it's a VLAN.
What happens when a topology change notification TCN is received in a network using STP?
Ports may change from forwarding to blocking and vice versa to stop looping, things like that. You know, taking a test isn't necessarily a skill. It is, but it's more of a theory, because there's so many different ways that you can come at it. You know, like we could come at it just because like we know this. We can come at it by proving all of these wrong. We can come at it by trying to figure out like what is, like, finding its key things. So the key things is that the topology changed in an STP. Those are our keywords. You know what I mean?
Users are reporting that they are unable to access the company shared drives within the corporate wireless. However, if they are hardwired, they can access the shared
DNS
drives.
issue.
What is the most likely reason that they are having issues
Like, check it out.
accessing the shared drives?
Like, we know this is a DNS issue because we just learned about it, but also, like, we know it's not site survey because that's when they go to the actual physical place. That's like physically looking at something. Attenuation is the degradation of signal, and baseline is a measurement of metrics. Okay. And so DNS is the only one that's left. Or we can look here and be like, okay, it's a shared drive. We know shared drives are given names. We know names are have to be resolved through IP addresses. That's what DNS is. We know that they can't connect to it through wireless, but they can connect to it through wired. So that just strengthens the fact that the wireless signal is not something is wrong with those IPs, and it's not resolving through the DNS.
You manage a local area network with several switches. A new employee has started today, so you connect her workstation to a switch port. After connecting the workstation, you find that it can't get an IP address from the DHCP server. You check the link and status lights and see that the connection is working properly. A ping to the workstation's loopback address succeeds. No other computers seem to have the problem. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the problem?
Okay, so this is the one that I thought was default gateway. My mind immediately went to incorrect default gateway because it's not getting anything from the DHCP server. But in reality, it is an incorrect VLAN assignment. And the reason behind that is, I don't know. I don't know why that's the reason. I don't remember what it is. Because I remember it saying that I got it wrong and that it was a VLAN. Incorrect default gateway would insinuate that it can't connect to the DHCP server. You know what? Let's ask our friend here. Crap, I got rid of one. Incorrect. What? Dang it. Ugh. I saw it incorrect, so I just got rid of it. Let's see what it has to say. Let's figure out why. Here's your five-part method. Blah, 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 blah. Also, if you've been watching me all week, then you know my 5-part method, whatever. I'm not going to be one of those gurus that's like, this prompt is going to change your life. It's a crazy hack. No, dude, look, it's just a prompt. Ain't nothing crazy to it. You just need to make sure that you ask it the correct questions. That's all it comes down to. So I wanted to restate the question because I want to remember the scenario. I want a simplified answer so that way I can immediately understand. I want an analogy because that's how my brain works. And then I want an in-depth answer because I'm going to need to know that for a broader understanding. 80-20 principle. This is the 20% that I need to know. This is the 80% that's going to connect it to other things. And then a real world example and scenario because that is the type of jobs that we're doing. All right, here we go.
World example or scenario.
What?
Here's your 5-part format breakdown for the question and restated question. Why can't it?
All right, here we go.
Penalogy. Imagine a new employee joins a company and is assigned a key card to access the building. However, the key card is configured for a different building across town. The doors at your building are working fine, but the new person can't get in because they're not part of your system's access group.
Okay, so the door is the default gateway, and the key card is the VLAN trying to get in. So the default gateway is not wrong. The card is wrong. The card is not configured correctly.
Depth explanation. When a switch port is assigned to a VLAN, it can only communicate with devices in that same VLAN. If the new workstation is plugged into a port that's either not assigned to the correct VLAN, such as the one used by the DHCP server, or assigned to a VLAN with no DHCP server present, then DHCP requests will never reach the correct server, and the device won't get an IP address. This is especially common in enterprise networks where VLANs separate departments or functions, for example, sales, finance, guest Wi-Fi, The ping to loopback 127.0.0.1 only proves the workstation's ENIC works locally. The other options, like duplex mismatch or switching loop, would likely affect network performance across devices, not isolate this one. And the real-world scenario. Your company uses VLAN 10 for general office workstations and VLAN 20 for IP phones. You accidentally plug the new user's PC into a port configured for VLAN 20. The switch port is active, but DHCP traffic doesn't make it to VLAN 10's DHCP server. As a result, the PC gets no IP, and network access fails, despite all cables and lights appearing normal. Would you like the...
Okay, so my missing knowledge in this is that I didn't realize that a DHCP server could be put in a VLAN, not assigned to the correct VLAN, such as the one used by the DHCP server. I thought the DHCP server was like above the VLANs, and it was the default gateway, but I don't think that's necessarily how it works. I don't fully understand exactly how that works, how the hierarchy version of that is, but I do understand that you can assign different VLANs to different ports. And if I have a new employee who has a new workstation and I plug it into a port that was originally meant for like a phone, and that phone is on a completely different VLAN, it's not going to go to the correct spot. And it will have all of these things and it'll look correct. So to me, for at least at the moment, I have a gentle understanding of it, and I understand why it is incorrect VLAN. This is the same exact one. Incorrect VLAN, right? Yes. All right. All right, that's 5.3. We're moving on. 5.4. Let's do it.
A system administrator recently upgraded the network connection of the corporate office from 10 Mbps download and 1 Mbps upload to 500 Mbps download and 50 Mbps upload.
Upgrade.
What did the system administrator increase to improve access to the web?
So you think that it's going to be speed, but since this says speed/duplex, that is referring to talking and receiving information. Walkie-talkie, I talk, you can't. I talk, you can't. Phones, we can both talk and we can both hear each other. Okay, so it's got to be bandwidth. Think of bandwidth as a highway. We've all been down highways that are one lane and it can get congested. Think of dial-up. Dial-up internet was a thing way back in the day, and its bandwidth was like itty bitty. Okay, it was like a one-lane car, and then now we have fiber, which is like a 1,000-lane car. Car lane. I don't know why I kept saying lane car. I'm dyslexic. What can I say? All right, move on.
An administrator expects a newly installed network cable to operate at 1 Gbps.
Okay.
However, when the administrator tests the cable, the speed never reaches that speed. What is the actual performance of the data traveling across the cable called?
The actual performance that's traveling through it is throughput. Power over Ethernet is a PoE. That speed is how fast it's going, but that's not what it's asking. It's asking for its performance of data traveling across the cable. Okay? Attenuation is the degradation of it. Speed would be like 1 gigabyte per second. It's not asking for that. It's asking for the performance of it.
A wireless laptop at an organization is not able to access any internal network resources, but can browse the internet. An IT support specialist finds the cause of the problem after examining the laptop. Based on the symptoms, what does the specialist most likely conclude the issue to be?
Okay. So he has a laptop, and it can access the WAN, but it can't access the intranet. Okay, and like, he can't browse. Wait, no, hold on. Do I have that wrong? The wireless laptop at the organization is not able to access any. Yeah, he cannot access any internal resources, but he can watch cat videos on YouTube. Okay. Incorrect antenna type? No. Wrong passphrase? No. Wrong SSID. Security type mismatch. Security type mismatch. So the wrong passphrase thrown out. If it was wrong, he wouldn't be even able to watch cat videos. Okay. Incorrect antenna type. Didn't talk anything about that whatsoever. Security type mismatch is the misdirect. You think that's what it is because he's able to access the outside but not the internal. And you would think that would be a security issue, but it's not. It's wrong SSID because the SSID is like the faculty Wi-Fi versus the guest Wi-Fi. And I guarantee you this idiot is on the guest Wi-Fi. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and been like, hey, Mr. Lamont, can you help me with blank, 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 blank? And I go and I look at it and I'm like, yeah, dude, you're on the guest Wi-Fi. That's why you can't access like Skyward or whatever it is. Although I think you can access Skyward through the student stuff, but point still stands.
A wireless engineer implements a new double Wi-Fi network. The engineer carefully planned the deployment of access points APS to maintain a configuration spacing of 25 MHz. Which of the following is associated with the configured value? Select 2.
Okay, so he's deployed, he's implemented Wi-Fi networks. The engineer carefully planned to deploy them across points, access points. A configuration spacing of 25 megahertz. Which of the following is associated with the configured value? Associate with its configured value. That's the part I'm struggling with. What is configured value? I'm gonna say we have interface and absorption. No, I think it's channel overlap and interface. Frequency mismatch. No, I'm gonna say frequency mismatch and interface. We're gonna come back to that. My brain wasn't working.
A network engineer realizes the wireless access points are too close together in the wireless network, causing interference for employees connecting to the network. The network engineer moves the wireless access points slightly farther apart, which seems to have resolved the issue. What best describes the issue the network engineer resolved?
Channel overlap.
After replacing a wireless network adapter, employees in the corporate office have stopped complaining about issues with transferring large files to a shared drive. What feature of the new wireless access point most likely improved the user's experience?
Speed. Has nothing to do with spectrum. Has nothing to do with security type. Has nothing to do with the name of the Wi-Fi. Which, this is the name of the Wi-Fi, but it's more than just the name. I need to go get more tea. I'm out.
A system administrator is investigating an issue with 2 geographically distant offices. Users at these locations report that accessing the shared drive at the corporate office is taking too long, even though all 3 locations have gigabit speed internet. What indicator should the system administrator investigate first to help resolve the issue?
Latency. It has nothing to do with processor, which is in your computer. It has nothing to do with memory, which is in your computer. It has nothing to do with jitter, which has to do with VoIP, like voice calls over the internet. Like if you ever see like at a school, it has Cisco phones, like that's VoIP. And if it's like kind of like, that's jitter. Okay. Jitter can also kind of happen in a video call as well. It's kind of like lags a little bit, but it's mainly in VoIP.
Users are reporting that their phone calls are garbled and are often of poor quality. What should the system administrator investigate first to resolve the issue?
Oh, jitter. Well, yeah, I literally just talked about that. All right, now let's talk about this because I really kind of got stopped. So a wireless engineer implements Wi-Fi networks, new ones. The engineer carefully plans the deployment of access points to maintain a configuration space of 25 megahertz. Which of the following is associated with its configured value? And it is these 2.
A multi-access point site should be able to allow clients to operate with the strongest signal and function with a minimum of co-channel interference, CCI. At least 25 MHz spacing should be allowed to avoid channel overlap. Interference can be caused by a number of factors, including neighboring equipment that may use the same frequency of radio waves.
Okay. So it's not frequency mismatch. It has to deal with the interference. This one's tough. This one's kind of hard to like understand. At least I'm having a hard time understanding it. Let's ask our friend here. Look, I'm trying to use my pinky to hit that Q, and I want it to get stronger, but it just feels weird.
Here's your 5-part breakdown for the question. Menbri stated question. What network issues? Penalogy. Think of Wi-Fi channels like radio stations. If two stations are broadcasting too close in frequency, they start to interfere with each other. Just like Wi-Fi channels can overlap and create signal chaos if not spaced out correctly. In-depth explanation. In Wi-Fi, especially in the 2.4 GHz band, channel width and spacing are crucial. Most channels are 20 MHz wide, but if access points are spaced only 25 MHz apart, their signals may overlap. This overlap leads to interference, especially when non-orthogonal channels like 1, 4, 6 are used. Ideally, channels should be spaced far enough apart, usually at least 5 channels in 2.4 GHz, i.e. 1, 6, 11, to prevent overlap. Interference happens when signals from multiple APS clash, degrading performance. Channel overlap refers to the physical radio frequencies interfering due to insufficient spacing.
I have a hard time visualizing and understanding this because I haven't figured out how to do this myself. Like with my own Wi-Fi, I'm sure once I figure it out, once I do it, it'll make more sense. Remember, going to the beach is way better than reading a book about the beach. But if you read a book about the beach and then go to the beach, you will appreciate the beach even more. If you don't understand that analogy, then maybe you should ask yourself, what if you didn't eat breakfast this morning?
Employees in a certain office area are complaining that it is difficult to browse the web while on the wireless network. The network engineer reconfigures the access point to a lesser used frequency to limit the surrounding business's wireless issues. What is the most likely issue that the network engineer resolved?
It's one of these two. So employees in a certain office area are complaining that it is difficult to browse the web while on the wireless network. The network engineer reconfigures the access point to a lesser used frequency to limit the surrounding business areas. So it is frequency mismatch. No, channel utilization then. Okay, we'll come back to it.
A university campus deploys multiple APs in close proximity. The engineer sets up 2.4 GHz APS with 25 MHz spacing, using channels 1, 4, 7, and 10. These channels overlap heavily, resulting in massive interference in dorm rooms. Students experience dropped video calls and slow speeds, even though signal strength appears strong, because the overlapping frequencies are battling for airtime.
Overlapping frequencies is with channels. I don't know what mismatching frequencies are. We're going to learn about that in a second.
What is the most likely cause of a network experiencing continual bottlenecks?
What is the most likely cause? Network experiencing continual bottlenecks. Scheduled nightly backups? No. Occasional video call conference. Only if it was continual, but that says occasional. Device related issue. Seasonal increase of web traffic. This one's tricky because it says seasonal increase. So it's like it's continual, meaning that's going to happen every single season, but it's not. That's not what it means by continual. It means continual like on the daily. So it's got to be a device related issue. Let's go.
A wireless engineer implements a new Wi-Fi network. The engineer carefully planned the deployment of access points APs to maintain a configuration spacing of 25 MHz. Which of the following is associated with the configured value? Select 2.
Interference. Channel overlap. Yes. Okay, I was worried about that one.
A system administrator is researching a connectivity issue. The administrator notes that the physical link listed as up, but the line protocol is listed as down. What should the system administrator investigate to resolve the issue?
The administrator notes that the physical link listed is up, but the line protocol is listed as down. It's not jitter, that's a throwaway. Bandwidth, I'm also going to throw it away. It's either link status or encapsulation issue errors. So he notes that the physical link listed is up, but the line protocol is down. I'm going to go with encapsulation errors. Yeah, because if it was link status, it would all be down. It's either up or down. There is no like halfway in between. All right, let's see why.
When multiple access points use the same channel, opportunities to transmit are reduced. Channel utilization can be measured from the access point or using a Wi-Fi analyzer. As a design goal, a channel should exhibit no more than 50% utilization. To connect to an AP access point, a station must be able to match the standards compatibility and frequency selection configured on the AP.
Okay, we're gonna ask our friend here. I think this is our last one. No, we got 2 left. No, I did not use my pinky. You know, no one really taught me how to type. I just figured it out because out of necessity. You know what I mean? So I'm sure I do a lot of bad habits that you're not supposed to use. Whoa, that was fast. Here, I just care about this part.
Penalogy.
Penalogy.
Imagine trying to have a conversation at a party where everyone is talking at once on the same frequency. It's hard to hear. But if you move to a quieter room, a less used frequency, the conversation is clear. In-depth explanation.
That makes sense.
Channel utilization refers to how crowded or busy a wireless channel is. In a shared office building, multiple APs from different businesses may be using overlapping or identical channels, especially in the 2.4G band where there are fewer non-overlapping channels. This causes congestion, resulting in slow web browsing and connection instability. By switching the AP to a less congested channel or frequency band, for example, from 2.4 GHz to 5 GHz, the engineer reduces interference and improves performance. Frequency mismatch would occur if the client device and AP were on incompatible bands, for example. AP is 5 GHz only, and client supports only 2.4 GHz.
Okay. Okay. So a frequency mismatch is like, I have an Arlo camera in my backyard. It only operates on 2.4. The internet I used to have was Wi-Fi 5 or 6. I think I'm on Wi-Fi 7 now, but it doesn't matter. Point is that it always gave out both signals and you couldn't distinguish between the two. And I had to literally disable my 5G on my Wi-Fi just long enough to make the connection, because once it was connected, it would always have the line. But they weren't separated. I understand now. I understand the assignment.
A wireless engineer implements a new Wi-Fi network. The engineer carefully planned the deployment of access points APs to maintain a configuration spacing of 25 ms. Which of the following is associated with the configured value? Select 2.
Well, now that I understand mismatch, I understand that that's not it. And it's not going to be absorption, so it's got to be these two.
Employees in a certain office area are complaining that it is difficult to browse the web while on the wireless network. The network engineer reconfigures the access point to a lesser used frequency to limit the surrounding business's wireless issues. What is the most likely issue that the network engineer
Channel
resolved?
utilization. It's the same question. Okay, we're down to our last one. I'm gonna let my cat in. He's meowing. Well, come on. But look, I'm telling you, if you start jumping up on everything and trying to chew my 4K wire, then we're gonna have an issue. And you're going back out. All right, here we go. Last one, boys. Last one. Sucks. You're
Which
already
of the
at a bad
following
start.
commands displays the general NetFlow data on the command line?
Oh, crap. Commands? Buddy. IP. Show IP cache flow? Oh man, dude. I'm not good with commands, especially when it comes to Linux. All right, here we go. Let's try it.
Workstation's network board is currently configured as follows. Network speed equal to auto duplexing equal to auto. The workstation is experiencing poor network performance, and you suspect that the network board is incorrectly detecting the network speed and duplex settings. Upon investigation, you find that it's running at 10 Mbps half duplex. You know that your network switch is capable of much faster throughput. To fix this issue, you decide to manually configure these settings on the workstation. Before you do so, you need to verify the switch port configuration for the connected workstation. Given that it's a Cisco switch, which commands can you use on the switch to show a list of all switch ports and their current settings?
Okay, I know this
Select
because I do
2.
those packet tracers. So let's see here. Show running config. Show interface internet port. Show interface capabilities. Show interface. I'm fairly certain that's it. Yeah. Cat, we're having issues. Look, I'm almost done, and then I'll pet you to your heart's content. Okay. Okay, I guess I'm using my mouse with my left hand.
To determine why the network is running slowly, an administrator wants detailed properties for the cable run, including how much attenuation, crosstalk, noise, and resistance are on it. What tool should the administrator use to gather all of this information?
OTDR. I don't remember what it stands for, but I do know it has to deal with fiber. A multimeter is measuring electricity. A spectrum analyzer. It's either cable tester or spectrum analyzer. I'm going to go with the spectrum analyzer because I don't think that the cable tester does crosstalk and noise. I think it literally just tests the cable to see if all of its pins are correct. Spectrum analyzer looks like an alien machine. Okay, so it was the cable tester. Whoa. Oh my god, I'm trying to do this with my left hand because my cat is being a nuisance.
Which of the following is a command line packet capturing utility?
Command line packet capturing utility. I have no idea. I have no idea. No, don't eat my remote. What is wrong with you, cat? Meow, I just want pets, meow. That's what he's saying. That's what he wants. As I get hair all over my desk.
An employee's desktop is not communicating on the network. The network technician verifies that the network interface card is functioning correctly and wants to check the switch port to make sure it is also functioning. The switch is in another room, and no network diagram shows which switch port the technician should check. What tool can the technician use to find the other end of the cable plugged into the switch?
A network tone generator. A wire map tester. Honestly, I thought a wire map tester was the answer for the last one, but it wasn't a choice. It wasn't a choice. Multimeter is electricity. Cable tester just tests the cable. I'm pretty sure it's this. Yes, because what that does is you stick it in one end, and it sends a legitimate tone, and then I don't know if you physically hear it or like if the switch or whatever hears it, and you can tell which wire is which. Okay, let's see here. Cat, I'm about to throw you out. Like, I cannot handle this. I shouldn't have let you in.
What is a command line utility used for checking the reachability of a remote network host called?
The command ability. So what is the command line? The reachability of a remote, I think. Isn't that ping? Yeah, that's just ping. That's just doing the thing. The struggle is real.
A small section of the office is complaining about poor Wi-Fi signal. Which of the following tools have the capability to pinpoint the origin of the interference?
Spectrum analyzer. I know this one for certain. It's definitely a spectrum analyzer. Yes, I remember now. Okay. And just so you know, this is what a spectrum analyzer looks like. Looks like an alien device. Kind of crazy. Or like a medical device, maybe. They look wild. I do not have one, by the way.
A network technician installs a Wi-Fi analyzer app on a personal smartphone to analyze the recently installed wireless access point AP. Which of the following does the Wi-Fi analyzer provide that is useful information available for a site survey?
No, stay there. You stay there. Wi-Fi analyzer app on his personal smartphone to analyze the recent installed Wi-Fi access point. Which of the following does the Wi-Fi analyzer provide that is useful information available for the site survey? I'm going to say signal. Dang. It's not going to be an AP list. It's not going to be channel broadband bandwidth. I'm going to say it's either going to be channel graph or signal strength. I'm going to go with signal strength. But I want to know what these other ones are. Okay. This one kind of makes sense because I was stuck between those two.
To determine why the network is running slowly, an administrator wants detailed properties for the cable run, including how much attenuation, crosstalk, noise, and resistance are on it. What tool should the administrator use to gather all of this information?
Cable tester. Let's read what it has to say about a cable tester.
The administrator should use a cable tester that reports detailed information on the cable's physical and electrical properties, including crosstalk, attenuation, noise, and resistance.
So cable tester does more than just test the pins. That's good to know. I got all this cat hair on my desk now because... Wait. Okay. Which of the following commands display the general net flow data on a command line? Show IP cache flow. I had no idea. I did not do that. I'm so bad with
The show
commands.
IP cache flow command displays the net flow accounting statistics. This would show a visualization of general net flow data. To display the status and the statistics for net flow accounting data export, including the main cache and all other enabled caches, use the show IP flow export command in user exec or privileged exec mode. This shows more advanced accounting statistics than the show IP cache flow command. iPerf is a network performance utility that can generate TCP and UDP traffic to test bandwidth, latency, and packet loss. The show MLS netflow IP command displays netflow IP entries. Additional learning. Previous back to review. Review correct answers next.
Sometimes it gives you, like, cause I don't know if all of these are Cisco commands, but like that one's a Cisco command. So like, am I just supposed to like, no? I guess so. Guess that's part about being good, you know, you just know. Wait, go back real quick. So it was show IP cache flow. Which of the following is a command line packet capturing unit? TCP dump.
TCP dump is a packet analyzer that is launched from the command line.
Oh,
it can
sorry, I
analyze
just saw
network
your
traffic by intercepting
thing.
and displaying packets created or received by the computer it is running on.
I just saw your chat. Not a lot of people chat with me, so I don't really look at it very often. This practice exam is the CompTIA Network Plus. That is what this one is. I already took my A plus, and now I'm doing the Network Plus. And then after that, I don't know if I'm gonna do security or not. That one's pretty cool. But I really want to do the AI one. So, but they all kind of like stack on top of each other, especially like the first three. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do security plus. I don't know. Is your name really Remote? How did you get the name Remote? How did you manage that? Like, I don't even own ParaDiddlePete. Like, if you notice, my name on YouTube is ParaDiddlePete with a period. Oh my gosh, boy. Jesus. Huh. For some reason, it's not popping up. Oh, there it is. I'm gonna look at your channel real quick. Oh no! See, I thought you had the at remote, but you don't, because that'd be wild. That'd be wild if you did. Cool. Right on. All right. Anyway, TCP dump. TCP dump is a packet analyzer that is launched from the command line. It can analyze network traffic by intercepting and displaying packets created or received by the computer it is running on. Got it. Let's go to the next one.
A network technician installs a Wi-Fi analyzer app on a personal smartphone to analyze the recently installed wireless access point AP. Which of the following does the Wi-Fi analyzer provide that is useful information available for a site survey?
Signal strength. Signal strength. So, but the reason we did this is because I want to know what the other ones are. So we're gonna read through it. I need more tea.
Depending on the position of the smartphone, the Wi-Fi analyzer can display how strong the signal is from the location of the access point AP. This can be used to troubleshoot signal loss in certain areas. An AP list will show all available wireless access points that the smartphone is able to hear. The service set identifier SSID of the AP will be listed. A channel graph will show the channel the access point is using, along with channels of other APS. This graph can help mitigate channel overlap.
Okay.
Channel bandwidth is not displayed on a Wi-Fi analyzer app. An online bandwidth speed tester can be used to determine the speed of the wireless network.
Okay, I'm gonna have to let that one sit for a second. I understand that this is the answer, but understanding what a channel graph is and how it differs from a channel bandwidth, I'm gonna need to let that like marinate for a second.
IT security specialists respond to a security breach. An investigation determines that open service ports on an old server were the entry point for malicious activity. Which of the following utilities should the specialists use to determine the cause of the breach?
Oh, dang it, dude. At first I was like, oh, it's dig. It's got to be dig. But then I was like, what if it's netstat? That also kind of sounds, because there's a command that literally goes through all of the different ports and it shows you which ones are up and which ones are down, or like where there was an issue. So I'm also thinking of path ping. It's definitely not ARP. I'm going to go with dig, but I very clearly have these three mixed up.
To determine why the network is running slowly, an administrator wants detailed properties for the cable run, including how much attenuation, crosstalk, noise, and resistance are on it. What tool should the administrator use to gather all of this information?
Spectrum analyzer is like, it measures the room, like the waves and the stuff in the room. The multimeter is electricity, and OTDR, which I do not remember what it stands for, but I do know it deals with fiber.
Which of the following commands displays the general net flow data on the command line?
Show IP cache flow. Until I start using these commands more and more, I'm going to have a hard time remembering them.
A systems administrator is unable to ping remote hosts from a Debian server. However, remote hosts can ping the server. The administrator troubleshoots the issue by examining the output chain. Which of the following tools meets the administrator's needs to troubleshoot the issue?
IP config, not I. Is unable to ping the remote host. However, the remote host can ping the server. So the administrator is unable to ping the remote host. Oh, Linux. This is Linux. So, route. Oh.
A cable installer is testing fiber optic cable for spectral attenuation, with the goal of ensuring that each channel has enough power to support wavelength division multiplexing. What tool is the cable installer using?
So it's not going to be tone generator. That's, you put it on one end of the Ethernet cord and it generates a tone to the other end. It's not going to be multimeter. That is to do with electricity. It's going to be OTDR or OSA. Both of these deal with fiber. I think it's going to be OTDR. I'm pretty sure that is something to do with like figuring out like if there's an issue. One figures out if there's an issue physically, like in the cable. The other one measures like its degradation, like its signal strength. I don't remember which one's which.
An administrator is using a wire map tester to identify different types of issues with cabling. What kinds of issues can the wire map tester detect? Select all that apply.
Wire map tester. Select all that apply. So I bet there's 3. A wire tester is going to be able to detect a short. It's going to be able to detect continuity. And I'm going to say it's not going to be able to detect a bad port, but it's only going to be able to detect things that are on the wire. Yes. Okay.
Which of the software tools allows you to obtain a domain name to IP address mapping?
Nslookup. That one's easy. It's literally in the thing. Some of the commands are not intuitive. Some of them are.
Which of the following is a command line packet capturing utility?
Capturing utility? I think it's TCP dump, right? Yeah. It was route.
A systems administrator is unable to ping remote hosts from a Debian server. However, remote hosts can ping the server. The administrator troubleshoots the issue by examining the output chain. Which of the following tools meets the administrator's needs to troubleshoot the issue? Answer: ipconfig. The iptables command line utility is used to edit the rules enforced by the Linux kernel firewall. It can change input, output, and forward chains that are firewall rule sets. The root command is a command utility to configure and manage the routing table on a Windows or Linux host. The ipconfig command is only supported on Windows systems. It is used to display and verify the IP configuration. The ifconfig command displays a similar output as the ipconfig command. It can display IP information, traffic statistics, and even enable or disable a network adapter.
What's hard is that some of the commands are so different and some of them are similar or exactly the same. And I don't know what's better. I don't know if I wish that they were all the same or if they were all different. Because if they were all different or all the same, I think I'd be able to make it make sense in my mind and be able to like whatever. It'd probably be better if they were all the same. But they all do a little bit different things. I wish it would say like this is Linux. Because ipconfig is also a Windows thing, but I don't know if you can do ipconfig on Linux. I really need to spin up some virtual machines or just run Linux on another machine to like learn it more.
IT security specialists respond to a security breach. An investigation determines that open service ports on an old server were the entry point for malicious activity. Which of the following utilities should the specialists use to determine the cause of the breach? The netstack command allows for checking the state of ports on a local host. Service misconfigurations can be found by using this command. The Address Resolution Protocol ARP command is used to perform the task of resolving a logical Internet Protocol IP address to a physical hardware address. The pathping utility performs a traceroute, then pings each hop router a given number of times for a given period to determine the round-trip time RTT for the path. The Domain Information Groper dig utility is used to query a domain name system DNS server and return information about a particular domain name.
Okay. So ARP, we already know what ARP is. Okay. Let's deal with the MAC address, physical hardware. Ping path is literally as it says, it's tracing the route, the path that the ping goes, and it gives the number of hops that it has to do, and it determines the round trip based off of its round trip time, which I would also imagine is comparable to time of life. Time to live, sorry. So the question is asking, what is the question asking? An IT specialist response to it determines an server. Which of the following should the specialist do to determine the cause of the breach? So he needs a netstat, because netstat allows for checking of the status of ports on a local host. Service misconfigurations can be found using this command. So it's going to be able to find misconfigurations. So this is DNS. This is the deal with DNS. This is the deal with hops. And that's MAC. This is the deal with servicing ports.
A cable installer is testing fiber optic cable for spectral attenuation, with the goal of ensuring that each channel has enough power to support wavelength division multiplexing. What tool is the cable installer using? Smart Refresher, 5.5 given a scenario.
I hate when it does that.
An administrator would use an optical spectrum analyzer, OSA, with fiber optic cabling.
See, man, these acronyms, they kill me. Optical spectral analyzer. Well, that obviously makes sense. Of course, that's what it's going to do.
Usually with wavelength division multiplexing WDM, to ensure that each channel has sufficient power. An optical time domain reflectometer, OTDR, locates breaks in fiber by sending light pulses down the cable and timing how long it takes for any reflections to bounce back.
So this one measures its speed. This one measures if there's something wrong with it physically. The question is asking to test the fiber optic cable for this.
Spectral attenuation.
Spectral attenuation. We already know what attenuation means. Attenuation means degradation of signal over a length. But it normally means that with just normal like Ethernet. Spectral, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can figure out what does spectral mean. Oh, dub, it was a movie. In the context of networking, spectrum refers to the range of electromagnetic frequencies, but that's not. No, I don't want spectrum. Tell me something, Gemini. A spectral network is a mathematical structure used in theoretical... Okay. Okay. I feel like that is not what we were looking for. We're going to keep going. All we need to know is that this is physical and this is speed.
After plugging a cable into a computer, a user reports there is no network access. Which of the following tools would the technician most likely check to verify that the cable was crimped correctly?
Okay, after plugging a cable into a computer, a user reports there is no internet access. Cable certifier. That's just the only one that... A loopback plug is what you plug in the back of like a computer or like a device or something, so that way it loops itself back to see if things work. Toner probe is what you put at the end of one cable, and so that way it says things in the other end of the cable. Punch down tool is what you use, I believe, to crimp. Oh crap, do not, okay.
A network manager cannot communicate with a system on the network that has an Internet Protocol IP address of 192.150.24. The network manager enters the command
ARP-A with IP address. What is the result of the returning command?
It will add an entry to the Address Resolution Protocol ARP table. It will delete the entry for the IP address in the Address Resolution Protocol RP table. An error result will occur due to an invalid command. It will display the Address Resolution Protocol ARP cache contents for the IP address.
It's not going to delete. If it was going to delete it, it would be -D. It will enter to the Address Resolution Protocol table. It will display the Address Resolution Protocol cache contents. I'm going to say this one. Okay. Because there's like 3 of these. There's the -A, -B, -C, -D. They all mean something different except D. D is the one that makes the most sense because it's D and it means delete. Otherwise, it's set up in an order that just makes sense. It will display the address resolution tool or protocol cache contents of the IP. Because that's what you need first, I would imagine.
An IT specialist deploys a Wi-Fi analyzer application on a tablet to assess the performance of a newly implemented wireless network in a large conference room. Which of the following does the Wi-Fi analyzer deliver that is crucial for determining the effectiveness of the network layout?
Yeah, I'm still having a hard time grasping the difference between these two, but that'll come in time.
A systems administrator is unable to ping remote hosts from a Debian server. However, remote hosts can ping the server. The administrator troubleshoots the issue by examining the output chain. Which of the following tools meets the administrator's needs to troubleshoot the issue?
I think it's route. Dang, I think I picked that last time too. It's got to be IP tables then. Oh man, I'm not good with... I got to get better. Let's do it.
Following a cybersecurity incident, IT security analysts discovered that unauthorized access was gained through unused protocols enabled on a network device. Which of the following tools should the analysts employ to identify the exploited vulnerabilities?
ARP deals with MAC. PathPing deals with pinging, but it's counting the amount of hops and it's calculating a round trip time. Dig deals with DNS, so it's got to be netstat. I don't quite remember what netstat is, but I know what all the other ones are.
An organization needs to monitor the network with a packet sniffer. The network is using gigabit Ethernet over copper wire, so the frames will also need signal regeneration. What device can the organization use to accomplish both the network monitoring and signal regeneration?
A tap. Yeah. I don't remember what tap stands for, but that's where we get, or I don't know which one came first, but that's, I mean, someone tapped my phone line. Oh, they put taps in my room. Like, meaning that they're listening.
A cable installer is testing fiber optic cable for spectral attenuation, with the goal of ensuring that each channel has enough power to support wavelength division multiplexing. What tool is the cable installer using?
Attenuation, so that means that we're dealing with signal strength, so it's this one. OTDR deals with the physical wire if it's like broken or whatnot.
To determine why the network is running slowly, an administrator wants detailed properties for the cable run, including how much attenuation, crosstalk,
Cable
noise,
tester.
and resistance are on it. What tool should the administrator use to gather all of this information?
IP tables, that's what I thought.
The IP tables. Command line utility is used to edit the rules enforced by the Linux kernel firewall. It can change input, output, and forward chains that are firewall rule sets.
Yep. Yeah, see, there's a whole bunch of them. I knew it. So the command arp-a will provide the contents of an address resolution protocol cache. The command will only show the contents of the internet protocol addresses. The command can also be used without an IP address to refer or to view the entire table. arp-s, when followed by the media access control address, I don't know why that was hard for me to say, the MAC, okay, which would allow the administrator to add an entry to the ARP table. So S is to add, which is stupid. You would think that would be an A because it's adding, okay. D would be to delete, and then ARP will not return a result. It is an invalid thing. So you need A, S, D, and I'm sure that there's even some others as well. Oh, good. It's doing it backwards.
A network manager cannot communicate with a system on the network that has an Internet Protocol IP address of 100. A network manager can... The manager uses the ping command and can reach the IP address. Which of the following commands can the network manager use for troubleshooting this issue?
So the problem is that he cannot communicate with the system on the network that has a IP address of this. I'm not going to say those numbers. The manager uses a ping command to reach the IP address. This is nothing. This deletes. This adds. So it's got to be A. It's IP tables. Because it's the only one that I don't know.
A systems administrator is unable to ping remote hosts from a Debian server. However, remote hosts can ping the server. The administrator troubleshoots the issue by examining the output chain. Which of the following tools meets the administrator's needs to troubleshoot the issue?
Okay. It's going to be it's the same thing. Same question. Okay, I did significantly better. Significantly better. So, we're done. I might take... I'm definitely going to take the practice test on Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to stream it or not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I might want to just focus and like try to take the test the best I possibly can. But we have now gone through a crash course of all of these things. Okay. Let's see. Do I have, okay. Refresher. Ooh, that one did not go well. Yeah, the learnings are all bad. We want the full refresher. That didn't go well. That went okay. That was like 50%. That went okay. That went okay. Not good. Good. Okay. Okay. Really bad. Good. Good. Okay. 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 Good. Okay. 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 No, I'm gonna say that's good. 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 And that's borderline okay. So yeah, we're gonna look at this again. Again on Sunday, I may or may not stream the practice test, but tonight I'm definitely playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. So if you so if you want to be there for that, that's awesome. Go for it. Appreciate everyone who stayed with it the entire time. If you did, that's cool. Give me a subscribe, like, follow, all that different stuff like that. Really appreciate all that stuff. Thank you very much. Tell a friend. If you're interested in networking, if you're interested in tech stuff, this is what I'm really interested in. And I'm interested in not just video games, but like the technology behind it and stuff. Really interested in like emulation and things. And just in general, like just tech. So if you like that stuff, if you like learning about those things, I'm also a former teacher, so I'm going to try to teach it. I'm not just going to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, but I'm doing it, and I'm going to try my best to actually like teach it, to show you like how I'm doing it and things like that. Very clearly, I am in the process of learning it as well too. So anyway, that's what's going on. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I think I already said that. And as always, Makala Checo.